Chapter 647. Dazzling divine light illuminated the sky. The three beams of divine light brushed past one another. Wherever they passed, even the void trembled strangely. At the same time, the divine light receded, and the world returned to normal. It was as if what had just happened had never happened. At the same time, the huge God-binding net that had fallen from the sky mysteriously disappeared. Impossible! How could the God-binding net disappear? It's a treasure our leader obtained from the Godfall abyss. He gave it to us as a reward. It clearly has our soul imprints on it. How could it disappear? I can't even sense the God-binding net's existence. What was that divine light? Could it be the legendary, heaven-defying divine ability, the five-color divine light? No, there are only three divine lights. It can't be the five-color divine light. It's a feather. It's that strange bird. The three feathers behind her back are the divine light from before. Red, blue, and purple. That's right, it's her. Her divine light has such terrifying power. Could it be? Could it be the legendary king of beasts, the imperial phoenix bird? Our God-binding net has been swept away. Legend has it that the three divine feathers behind the imperial phoenix bird have the same mystical power as the five-color divine light. They can sweep away anything in the world. As long as it's within the five elements, nothing can escape the binding of the divine light. The God-binding net must be in the divine feathers. Second brother, third brother, fourth brother. Let's capture them together. I don't believe they can overturn the sky. When the four black-clothed cultivators saw the God-binding net so easily taken away, they couldn't help but gasp. They looked at the imperial phoenix bird with disbelief. She had feathers on her wings, which were completely different from ordinary imperial phoenix birds. They couldn't tell her true identity at first glance. However, even though the God-binding net had been swept away, it didn't stop them from wanting to rob her. Trifling great demon. Today, I'll skin you alive. Black light flashed out from the hand of one of the black-clad cultivators, and a strange, pitch-black flag appeared in his hand. On the flag, there was an evil spirit with two strange horns on its head. It had 3 heads and 6 arms, a strange blade, a black mirror, a black tower, a black seal, a strange sword, and a black iron chain. Its entire body was shrouded in a black fog, and it was releasing strange cries. He licked his lips from time to time, feeling an indescribable horror. It's the ghost deity Gonfalon. Underworld couldn't help but cry out in surprise when he saw it. Ghost deity, heed my command. Tear this little yow apart. The black-clad cultivator shouted in a sinister voice. He waved the ghost deity Gonfalon in his hand. Immediately, waves of dense black gas gushed out from the Gonfalon. In the blink of an eye, it covered half of the sky. Within the black fog, a ghost god appeared. TSK, TSK. The ghost god, which was several hundred meters tall, let out a series of strange cries. Its eyes revealed a terrifying and ominous glint, and its face was extremely ugly, making it even more terrifying. With a wave of his hand, the black iron chain flew towards D. Shirtion to bind him. Upon closer inspection, one could see that the chains were actually formed from numerous souls. Vivid faces began to appear on the surface one after another. You're courting death. D. Shirtion's expression was cold as he stared at the ghost god. He waved his right hand, and the black lotus inside of him trembled as the power of the divine ability poured into his hand. Extreme King Emblematic Seal, Demonic Seal, Rumble. The demonic seal instantly formed in his hand. Vast amounts of demonic god energy filled the ancient seal. It flew into the air and grew with the wind. In the blink of an eye, it expanded violently. It turned into an ancient seal that was at least 10,000 feet tall. Countless figures of demonic gods appeared in the ancient seal. They roared at the sky, inhaling and exhaling boundless primordial chi. A vast amount of pressure pressed down on the ghost god almost instantly. It stirred the primordial chi of heaven and earth, as well as the desire of heaven and earth. The power of the ancient seal was truly overwhelming. Bam! The ancient seal vibrated, and the surrounding void shook violently. Suddenly, the ancient seal carried the domineering power of the demonic gods and directly pressed down on the gigantic ghost god. The ghost god raised its 6 arms, and all kinds of weapons in its hands crazily smashed at the ancient seal. It wanted to shatter the ancient seal, but the ancient seal contained the demonic god energy and crushed it into powder. Rumble. The ancient seal crushed the ghost god to death. Its body collapsed, but did not dissipate. Instead, it rose from the ground again and pressed down on the black-clad cultivator. Countless mysterious patterns on the ancient seal flickered with profound Tao. You bunch of shady fellows want to take Ai's life? How dare you rob my Tao? I will slap you to death with my seal. Immortal Emperor? Humph. How dare an immortal emperor be so presumptuous in front of me? Di Shirtian's eyes shone brightly with cold fury. He pointed at the ancient seal. The ancient seal vibrated, and the aura and divine light it emitted became even more vast and rich. This is the demonic god seal. Oh no, he's Demon Emperor Di Shirtian. The black-robed cultivator's voice changed involuntarily when he saw the astonishing power erupting from the ancient seal. The name of the Demon Emperor had an incomparable deterrent force. The incident in the demon world back then had given the All Heavens a great deal of deterrence. It also made Di Shirtian enter the eyes of all the major forces. So what if you're a demon emperor? It's not that easy to kill me. Baleful Black Palm. The black-robed cultivator roared and formed a seal with his hands. Between heaven and earth, waves of baleful wind appeared out of nowhere. In an instant, they condensed into a large, pitch-black handprint. Within the handprint, there was a terrifying, black, baleful chi. Around the palm, countless black, baleful winds appeared. The palm was accompanied by a chilly wind. It was as if the palm could devour the entire sky and create a huge hole. Bang! The baleful chi of the baleful black palm was extremely dense. It had unparalleled lethality. When it collided with the demonic god seal, the baleful winds and the demonic god seal intertwined violently. The surging airwaves caused the void to distort. However, the demonic god seal communicated with the power of desire and the power of the demonic god seal. It was unusually domineering. Although the baleful black palm was equally domineering, it had a soft and corrosive force. Moreover, the black-clad cultivator was an immortal emperor expert after all. After a violent collision, the ancient seal and the palm were destroyed at the same time. Oof. Di Shirtian saw this and placed his hand on the tiger's soul. He twisted his wrist. Clang! The tiger's soul was unsheathed. The blade rippled with waves of golden saber light. With a casual swing of the saber, a strange saber mark was drawn in the void. The saber shadow was still in midair, but the saber had already appeared above the cultivator's head. The cold blade emitted boundless sharpness. Almost in an instant, the cultivator felt a thick aura of death shrouding his mind. A strong premonition of danger drowned him like a tide. He was incomparably shocked. Under the tiger's soul, he didn't even have the chance to dodge. He only felt that he would be easily cut in half if the saber fell on him. I'm one of the black demons. You can't kill me. If you kill me, the black demons won't let you go. Crack! Di Shirtian's expression was cold. He didn't care about the man's shouts at all. The saber light was like a drill. In an instant, the man's head was cut in half. Moreover, the man's divine soul was also cut in half. Run! When the remaining 3 cultivators in black saw that an immortal emperor was so easily killed by Di Shirtian, their expressions changed drastically. How could they still treat him as an ordinary great demon? He had cultivated half an immortal body, and his physical body had transformed into a treasure body. In addition, he had cultivated a peerless book like the Imperial Book of Shocking the World. His combat strength was not something that could be measured by his realm. The Tiger Soul was an Earth-rank demon weapon. Its sharpness was so strong that it could even cut an immortal body in half. Blocking the Tiger Soul was equivalent to courting death. How could they dare to stay? They turned around and fled. They didn't have the slightest bit of shame to speak of. Survival was the most important thing. How? Du let out a high-pitched cry. The three divine feathers on her back fluttered again. Three divine lights shot into the sky, completely sealing off the space within a radius of 1,000 feet. At the same time, a snow-white tail suddenly emerged from Baihu's back. It swayed slightly in the void, emitting bursts of white light. The surrounding scene suddenly changed into a vast grassland that stretched as far as the eye could see. The nine-tailed celestial fox's innate ability, illusion. In an instant, the three cultivators were swept into the illusion. In the illusion, the three cultivators' expressions changed drastically. They exclaimed, "Celestial fox! It's a nine-tailed celestial fox!" Crack! The tiger's soul swept out. The dazzling saber light carried a kind of emperor's aura that deterred all living things. Under the saber light, the three cultivators couldn't even think of dodging. They could only watch in horror as the tiger's soul slashed at them with lightning speed. They could faintly see the fishbone-like saber patterns on the saber. Suddenly, one of the cultivators in black laughed maniacally. "Tion, so what if you're a demon emperor? I'm from the Black Fiend. If you kill us, from now on, the Black Fiend will not rest until one of us is dead. Even if you're a demon emperor, you still have to die. No one has ever been able to survive after provoking the Black Fiend. Not even an ancient powerhouse. We'll be waiting for you in the underworld." Bang! 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 Three terrifying explosions sounded. The three cultivators in black seemed to have realized that they couldn't escape death. They laughed maniacally and reversed their cultivation technique. Their bodies exploded with a loud bang. They actually self-destructed. In the midst of the self-explosion, the power of destruction erupted and instantly blasted open the illusion. The terrifying power rapidly swept towards Sakura and the others. However, it was incomparably clever. She had seen it earlier and instantly took a step forward. Instantly, she rushed out with her fastest speed and just avoided the aftermath of the self-explosion. Whoosh! Whoosh! However, she didn't expect that three blood-red lights would strangely break through the air and rush toward Tion. They were as fast as lightning. It was as if they were invisible and intangible. They contained a strange aura. When Tion saw it, a treasure light burst out from his body. He was like an ancient emperor. He slapped the three blood-red lights with his palm. However, the strange thing was that the three blood-red lights seemed to be intangible. They passed through his palm and landed on his body. Even his treasure body couldn't stop them. They immediately merged with his body. It's a curse. It's a spell. To be continued. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 648. Summon all kinds of tickets. Brothers, help to hold them up. Haha, it's so funny. In the end, they turned all the life force in their bodies into these three curses. It's really funny. If they knew that you cultivated the power of desire, the 7 emotions and 6 desires are the source of all curses in heaven and earth, the source of all evil, you would be the most suitable person to cultivate curses. Any curse will not only not harm you, but will also benefit you. After the scream, Dark couldn't help but laugh crazily. His whole body lay on the ground, and his 2 dragon claws kept patting the ground. He laughed so hard that his belly almost turned to the sky. They turned most of their essence, life force, primordial spirit, and cultivation into the power of curses to harm you. If you subdue these 3 curses, not only will you get 3 new curses, but you will also be able to plunder the huge essence contained in the curses without any hidden dangers. This is equivalent to half of the power of 3 emperor-level cultivators. Even though the cultivation of those 4 fellows isn't very stable, it's likely that they've used medicinal pills and all kinds of natural treasures to increase their cultivation. Even though they have the strength of a martial emperor, they don't have the cultivation realm or battle prowess of a martial emperor. Absorbing the 3 curses is equivalent to absorbing most of the cultivation strength of the 3 immortal emperors. After refining them, it will be enough to increase your cultivation strength again. This is a benefit delivered to your door. The more powerful Indra was, the more Nether had almost completely fused with the heavenly punishment divine eye, and the more powerful it was to manage Nether prison. When one fell, all fell, and when one rose, all rose. Now that a pie had fallen from the sky, there was no reason for it not to be happy. Using curses to deal with me is simply blinding. Tion couldn't help but sneer after seeing the 3 blood-red lights. He let them enter his body without any hindrance. He wanted to personally experience what these 3 curses were. More than half of the curses in heaven and earth began to be lost after the ancient times. As for the rest, even if they knew, they didn't know the specific cultivation method, so they were afraid of them like snakes and scorpions. There are thousands of types of curses. There were almost too many to count. However, Tion had obtained 10 of the most wonderful curses. It turned into a curse seal and imprinted itself on the grade 8 Black Lotus. Afterwards, you will collect a soul-devouring curse seal. There were a total of 11 types of curse techniques in his body. 11 runes. Every single one of them could be said to be bizarre. It was also one of Tion's hidden trump cards. Now, since 3 curses had entered his body on their own accord, it was as good as walking right into a trap. He didn't say anything else. He closed his eyes and focused, trying to figure out what the 3 curses that had entered his body were. After one of the blood-red lights entered his body, it turned into a strange power and rushed into his bones. Once it came into contact with his bones, it easily fused into them. At the same time, a terrifying pain came from his bones, as if ants were continuously gnawing on his bone marrow. The indestructible bones, which were originally so hard that even divine weapons couldn't damage them, actually started to soften. It was as if countless ants were nibbling on them. Devour. That kind of pain was truly frightening. It was unstoppable. It can corrode the bones. Even the indestructible bones can't avoid it. This curse technique should be the Tarsus bone that even the ancient giants were afraid of. Once it comes into contact with the bones, it will be difficult to get rid of it. Even the indestructible body will be destroyed. It's an extremely terrifying curse technique. Even the ancient giants would have a headache if they were hit by it. Ming saw the changes in Tion's body and couldn't help but ponder and say, with his rich experience, he sensed the root of the curse. Tion, your body. Suddenly, by whose exclamation sounded in his ears. In her eyes, there was horror. She saw that Tion's body was suddenly covered in a layer of grayish white. Starting from his feet, it strangely solidified and turned into a cold stone. It was actually spreading to his body. In the blink of an eye, it covered every inch of his skin. This is the petrification curse. Once you're hit by this curse technique, it's like being hit by Medusa's staring eye. His entire body would turn into an ice-cold stone in an instant. Even your consciousness and soul will be completely petrified. What kind of power is this black fiend? They actually know this kind of curse. Ming also exclaimed in surprise. He clicked his tongue and sighed. He also looked forward to the 3rd curse. The 3rd ray of bloodlight turned into a curse and entered his body, immediately rushing towards his eyes. In the blink of an eye, Tion felt that his eyes were covered in a layer of strange black fog. His eyes couldn't see anything clearly anymore. His eyes were actually blind. Curse heaven blind. After being hit by this curse technique, one's eyes will lose their light and no longer see any color. It's as if one was born blind. It's difficult to save them. Ming laughed strangely and said, I didn't expect it to be these 3 curses. The 7 emotions and 6 desires belong to me. The original sins of heaven and earth are under my control. Curses originate from desire. Desire gives birth to evil, and evil gives birth to evil power. Thousands of curses. Why don't you return to I? Tion first let the 3 curses generate power and carefully felt the strange power contained in them. After understanding, he immediately shouted, The rank 8 black lotus in his body glowed with strange divine light and burst out with a strong devouring power that covered his entire body. Under the divine light of the black lotus, on the spot, in his flesh, in his bones, and in his eyes, strands of black light were constantly extracted and stripped out. Return to the origin, condense the cursed seal. Return to my body. Deshirtian cultivated the Emperor's way and the power of desire. Desire itself was the source of all evil in heaven and earth. The Emperor's shocking book was simply the most suitable cultivation method to cultivate curse techniques in this world. The rank 8 black lotus that was condensed was the source of all evil. No matter how powerful the curse technique was, it couldn't affect the source of all evil. Casting a curse technique on him was like sending water into the sea. The black lotus was the source of the power of curses. Under the awe of the black lotus, countless strands of black gas were constantly extracted from his body. His bones returned to normal, his petrified body quickly recovered, and his blind eyes regained their light. All the black gas was directly absorbed into the demon mansion and circled above the rank 8 black lotus. As the black lotus spun, all the strands of black gas intertwined and intertwined. It began to condense in a mysterious way, intertwined with Tao and truth. It absorbed the undying obsession in the sea of desire between heaven and earth. It merged together. Swish, swish, swish. 3 pitch-black curse seals condensed and formed almost at the same time. Each of them didn't have a fixed shape at all. It was as if they were constantly changing and contained a strange power. They were absorbing the endless power of desire between heaven and earth. With a swish, they turned into 3 streaks of black light and rushed into the black lotus. Suddenly, on the surface of the black lotus, there were 3 more mysterious curse seals. Each curse seal contained the most strange power in the world. In the past, there were 10 in the beginning. In addition to the one he obtained later, there were 3 more now. Now, in total, Deshirtian had mastered a total of 14 curse techniques. Each seal was completely different from the others, and each contained a miraculous power. They were soul-devouring, withering glory, tarsal bone, heavenly blindness, petrification, decay slow, blood collapse, gold transformation, divine injury, ice, heaven lock, God binding, and heavenly ugliness. One type, 14 types, and all of them were full of strange power. If they were used, it was enough to make countless strong people in the world change their expressions. They would be terrified. However, Deshirtian rarely used them. These curse techniques, at the critical moment, could reverse the situation and could be called an extremely powerful trump card. As an emperor, his trump cards must not be known to others. The more trump cards he had, the better. The more difficult it was for others to figure out, the more it could make others full of fear. Moreover, when Deshirtian used the curse technique, it was even more tyrannical than the others. It was almost difficult to crack. When the 3 curse seals were imprinted on the level 8 black lotus, 3 huge waves of supernatural power gushed out and poured into the black lotus. Since breaking through to the monster core 8 transformation realm, the black lotus in his body had also reached the level 8. Among them, the previous level 7 had been completely integrated and merged together. The 7 kinds of power of desire were continuously transformed into the purest Huangji true power. However, after breaking through and being refined, the amount of Huangji true power in the black lotus suddenly decreased. The consequence of condensing was that the Huangji true power was only half of the original. However, it was even more powerful. Every wisp had unparalleled power. Moreover, the space in the level 8 black lotus expanded more than 10 times in an instant. The original Huangji true power could only occupy less than 1/10 of the black lotus. The black lotus could be said to be extremely empty. Even if the level 8 black lotus was constantly rotating, absorbing the surrounding yuan qi of heaven and earth and the power of desire, constantly condensing into liquid true power and merging into it. However, compared to the current level 8 black lotus, It was simply a drop in the bucket. At this moment, 3 waves of essence chi, which contained more than half of the 3 celestial lords' supernatural power, poured into it. It was like sending charcoal in the snow. There was no reason not to accept it. Demon Refining Cauldron, refine all the supernatural power for I and transform it into Huangji true power. Di Shirtian did not hold back. Although every time he underwent a tribulation, it was 100 times or even 1,000 times more dangerous than ordinary cultivators. After overcoming it, his own realm would reach an unbelievable level. In the next realm, he would not have to worry about his state of mind and could continuously increase his power, reaching the peak. Now, the 3 members of the Black Demons wanted to trick him, but they did not expect to be a big fat piece of meat sent to his doorstep. It was a great opportunity to increase his cultivation, a great opportunity sent to his doorstep. However, he would not casually integrate these supernatural powers into his own Huangji true power. Instead, he sent them into the Demon Refining Cauldron. With the power of the Demon Refining Cauldron, the impurities in the 3 waves of supernatural powers were all purified. Otherwise, if he directly integrated them, although his power would instantly increase, the impurities in the supernatural powers would also affect the purity of his own true power. The gains would not make up for the losses. Boom! Boom! The Demon Refining Cauldron operated at full power, refining the 3 waves of supernatural powers. To be continued. If you want to know what happens next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 649. Huff. After a long while, he exhaled deeply and slowly opened his eyes. There was a glimmer of light in his eyes. His cultivation base had improved greatly. He muttered to himself, "Sure enough, the higher the level of cultivation, the more it takes thousands of years, or even tens of thousands of years of accumulation to advance." The dermic powers of the 3 celestial emperors only increased my true force by 3/10. Together with my original true force, it only increased 2/5 of the Black Lotus. The dermic powers of ordinary cultivators are too different from my Huangji true force. 3 celestial emperors. TSK. If he gave his huge amount of dermic powers to others, it wouldn't take long to create 3 celestial emperors. However, after being refined by the Demon Refining Cauldron, the huge amount of dermic powers in his body was severely reduced. After refining countless impurities and converting them into Huangji true force, his true force only increased his true force by 3-fold. He was a great demon, and the dermic powers of 3 celestial emperors were less than 1/3 of his Monster Core 8 transformation stage strength. If he said it out loud, heaven and earth would be shocked. The quality of the Huangji true force cultivated by the Huangji World Shocking Book was unbelievably high. To be able to increase such a huge amount of true force in such a short period of time was a rare thing. Lunatic D, you should be content with what you have. Those 3 fellows' dermic powers are incomparably heterogeneous. It's obvious that they didn't come from the right path. Although they seem to be immortal emperors, their combat strength might not be. They're probably just immortal lords. If you didn't have the Demon Refining Cauldron, I wouldn't have let you absorb their dermic powers. Just a little bit. Dark said with a strange voice. Indeed, no matter what, it was a rare thing to be able to increase one's cultivation base. Getting 3 curse seals is already a great benefit. Di Shirtian naturally wouldn't let these things affect his will and mind. He looked around and waved his hand to grab the ghost deity banner that had fallen on the ground. There were also 4 storage rings. He quickly scanned through the rings with his divine sense. Sure enough, they specialize in robbing people. A large number of items were stored in the ring. However, it could be seen that the items were quite miscellaneous. They were definitely not collected by themselves. They were simply intercepted by robbers, using immortal emperors as subordinates. I'm afraid this black fiend isn't simple. A thought flashed through D. Shirtian's mind, and he muttered, However, it's fine if they don't provoke me, but if they really provoke me, I won't hesitate to kill them even if they are the emperor. He paused for a moment and continued. Let's go. We shouldn't waste any more time here. The sooner we get to the myriad tribulation cave abode, the better. After saying that, he gave Ur an order. Immediately, Ur's spirits were lifted. He excitedly flapped his wings, leaving behind 3 streaks of divine light in the sky as he flew forward. Look, that's 1,000 illusion violet orchid. Legend has it that it was an extremely domineering, poisonous grass. Its appearance was incomparably gorgeous and extremely beautiful. However, if one were to consume it rashly, even a mortal would be poisoned to death. TSK. This is a high-grade earth-rank spiritual essence. Chelan tree, a chelan tree that can bear chelan fruit. Legend has it that only the place where chelan fell has a 1 in 10,000 chance of nurturing such a chelan tree. It's a high-grade earth-rank spiritual essence. Violet sunflower, a wondrous flower that absorbs the first wisp of violet chi that rises from heaven and earth. A low-grade earth-rank spiritual essence. In a land of chaos, there were disasters everywhere. The border was fine, but the deeper one went, the more oppressive it felt. However, at the same time of danger, there were incomparably precious spiritual essences of heaven and earth. Normally, they wouldn't even be able to see them, but now and then they would see them. Moreover, most of them were supreme treasures that couldn't even be planted in the 100 herb garden. As long as they encountered them, they would take them without hesitation. When they returned to the 1,000 demon city, they would let by Susu plant and cultivate them. Naturally, they would be able to grow and multiply, while Deshurtian's group was plundering along the way. In the land of chaos, a pair of huge eyes seemed to have sensed something and swept towards Deshurtian's direction. When it saw them, a fierce light flashed in its eyes, and it seemed to lick its lips in reminiscence. Around him, a large number of white bones covered the ground. However, in the blink of an eye, the pair of eyes gradually disappeared, as if it was hiding somewhere. These outsiders are so delicious. The essence of their flesh is so rich. Eating them can make me stronger. After so many years, I can finally eat to my heart's content. A formless thought reverberated in the void. Every time this happens, it's time for us to eat. The flesh of the outsiders can make us stronger. Deshurtan, who was constantly plundering the various spiritual essences along the way, suddenly felt his mind contracting violently. He couldn't help but look up. However, he didn't find anything. Frowning slightly, he said, "Everyone, be careful. Just now, something seemed to be spying on us. We are gradually entering the depths of the land of chaos. The power of disaster is getting more and more violent. It's terrifying." Yeah, hearing this, the white fox nodded with a smile. She was a 9-tailed celestial fox. Every time she broke through a cycle, she would gain another tail. Once she reached the 9th cycle, she would have 9 tails. She would have 9 innate abilities. Her strength would reach an unimaginable level. His eyes turned slightly as he said, "After hearing what you said, I also felt that someone was spying on us in the dark just now." It's said that the boundless power of disaster in the land of chaos breeds many terrifying beasts. Hidden in all kinds of disasters, it's quite terrifying. How could a beast that could survive in such a dangerous place be an ordinary beast? Along the way, disasters kept coming. However, Deshurtian had many tricks up his sleeves, and he managed to fend off all the disasters. Under Ming's guidance, they took a shortcut to the myriad tribulations cave abode. For 3 full days, they advanced step by step. Finally, they entered the depths of the land of chaos. This place is... When Deshurtian saw the scene before him, his pupils constricted. Even with his temperament, he couldn't help but be shocked. Could this be one of the scariest places in the land of chaos, the Chaos Lightning Dominion? Baihu couldn't help but exclaim. The Chaos Lightning Dominion was one of the scariest places in the land of chaos. There seemed to be no end to this place. It was filled with countless bolts of lightning. All kinds of divine lightning could be seen here. Overall, They were multicolored and looked incomparably gorgeous. They formed a world of their own. There were 5 types of divine lightning: ordinary divine lightning, enlightening, astral lightning, poison lightning, annihilation lightning, demon's lair lightning, immortal slaying lightning, 9 firmaments lightning, violet firmaments lightning, and so on. Furthermore, the deeper one went, the stronger the lightning became. It was said that in the depths of the chaos lightning dominion, annihilation, and chaos lightning were the most terrifying of all. Yin-yang lightning, and so on. This is a land of treasures. An idea flashed in Sakra's mind as his eyes flickered with wisdom. He swept his gaze across the lightning region and said in a low voice, "The lightning here contains a destructive force, but it also contains a strange power of creation. The lightning here seems to be endless. There's no end to it. If I were to summon the demon city and send it into the chaos lightning dominion, I'd be able to refine the lightning. If he used the power of lightning to refine the ancient city, he might be able to upgrade the divine crystals forged in the ancient city from mid to high quality. This is a great opportunity for us to improve. Using lightning to refine the city was definitely a good idea. Divine crystals could absorb all kinds of vital energy. Even lightning was no exception. The stronger the lightning, the better the tempering effect. Not to mention, the divine restrictions in the city could also absorb lightning and grow stronger. Once they absorbed a large amount of lightning energy here, their power would definitely increase. This is a good place. It's not bad to use it to refine the city. It can also absorb lightning energy for the lightning congregating towers. There are a lot of heavenly lightning stones here. If we collect them, we can build a large number of lightning congregating towers. Ming glanced around a few times before she nodded and agreed. Let's go. Let's go in and find a good spot. Then, we'll summon the demon city. Sakra's and Yu's minds were almost connected, and Yu understood the moment he changed his mind. With a cry, she flapped her wings and flew into the lightning region. Her body flashed, and 3 rays of divine light formed a barrier. Boom, boom, boom. As soon as he entered the lightning dominion, the originally chaotic lightning dominion was like a ladle of cold water being poured into boiling oil. It immediately boiled and went berserk. Thick thunderbolts crazily bombarded them from all directions. It was colorful. There was a deadly threat in the beauty. Bang, bang, bang. However, the Emperor Phoenix was the king of the savage beasts. Now Yu, who was much stronger, was even more powerful. The 3 divine feathers on her back fluttered back and forth, brushing away the thousands of lightning bolts that were attacking them. The lightning at the edge of the lightning dominion was the first level. As long as one was a demon king, one could enter with their Dharma treasure and body. If one went deeper, it would be the second level, which required a greater demon. However, if one went further, it would be the 3rd level, which required one to be a demon saint. The 4th level was difficult for those who were not heaven demons to resist. If one barged in rashly, they would be blasted into pieces by the lightning bolts. As for the 5th level, which was the last level, it was said that even if a peerless expert entered, it would be extremely dangerous. However, they were only at the edge, so it was naturally not a threat to them. They easily destroyed the thousands of lightning bolts. Boom! Suddenly, in the depths of the lightning dominion, a huge purple dragon claw swiped at D, Shirtion, and the others. The dragon claw was covered with fine purple dragon scales. Countless strange lightning bolts flickered on the dragon claw. This claw was like the judgment of heaven and earth. Under the dragon claw, the void froze. Immemorial thunder dragon? Ming's eyes widened when he saw the huge dragon claw. He exclaimed in shock, "There really is an immemorial thunder dragon here." To be continued. If you want to know the rest, please go to www.chidian.com to read more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 650. Who would have thought that a primordial beast, like the primordial thunder dragon, would be born in the chaos lightning field? Lunatic D, retreat quickly. This is a primordial thunder dragon. With your cultivation base, you won't be able to stop it in the lightning field. Even an ancient powerhouse wouldn't be able to do anything to it. Dark's expression changed in an instant. After seeing the origin of the dragon claw, he didn't hesitate to advise D. Shurtion to leave the lightning field immediately. This was the first time Dark had ever retreated without a fight. In the past, no matter how dangerous it was, he had never advised him to flee without a fight. It's too late. No matter how strong this primordial thunder dragon is, I won't flee without a fight. D. Shurtion looked at the purple dragon claw descending from the sky. Within the dragon claw, his mind was shrouded in a murderous aura of death. The vast draconic aura was thousands of times stronger than any other dragon he had seen before. Just the draconic aura alone was enough to make one unable to resist and want to be captured without a fight. An irresistible force instantly locked down the entire space below, even solidifying it. Under such a vast power, he didn't even have the strength to move a finger. Dominating heart, 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 dominating heart. In his mind, the scripture of the extreme Emperor Tyrant Heart manual flowed like a spring. In an instant, a dense Emperor Chi burst out of his body, and the extreme Emperor mask appeared on his face. The strength of his body naturally rose to a whole new level. From the 8 cycles of Yaodan to the 9 cycles of Yaodan, a vast amount of true energy surged through his Yaodan veins like a surging river, flowing madly into every inch of his flesh and blood. Rumble. D. Shurtion's body shook. His own overbearing true power, combined with the Emperor's chi, shook the originally confined space and caused the surrounding space to violently distort all of a sudden. Extreme Emperor Dao, death of gods and devils. Extreme Emperor Seal, Tao Tai Seal. Clang. The tiger soul was unsheathed and the violent imperial true force was poured into the blade. At the same time, the divine devil talisman also burst forth with a pure divine power and poured into the blade. 3,000 divine devils directly rushed out from the blade and crazily devoured the heaven and earth vital energy. They emitted an endless sense of death that filled the air, causing the air to emit a sorrowful feeling. He couldn't help but weep. The 3,000 demon gods swallowed the boundless essence and returned it to the saber. Then, all the energy merged together. Immediately, the saber light on the tiger soul turned ancient and deep. The saber slashed towards the purple dragon claw as if it could split the heavens and earth apart. Clang! Once the fiend god morning was unleashed, the power contained within the tiger soul was comparable to that of a heavenly demon. This blade could be said to be a peak blade. Coupled with the unparalleled sharpness of the tiger soul's earth-rank demon weapon, it simply had a tyrannical power that could split the heavens and earth. However, the purple dragon claw was so hard that it was indestructible. When they collided, the sound of metal colliding with stone could be heard. The force that erupted caused the surrounding void to be annihilated inch by inch. Tens of thousands of thunderbolts fiercely surged towards Sakura like hundreds of millions of wild serpents. At the point where the tiger soul and dragon claw met, streaks of purple lightning strangely followed the blade and headed towards his arm and even his body, crazily devouring him. Roar! At this moment, an ancient seal condensed in his left hand. The ancient seal was incomparably dark, as if a terrifying black hole had split open in an instant. In an instant, it swallowed the hundreds of millions of lightning bolts. Following the momentum, it struck the dragon claw. Bang! The terrifying roar immediately suppressed the sound of thunder in the surroundings. The ancient seal was destroyed, but at the same time, the purple dragon claw was forcefully knocked back by the vast power contained within the ancient seal. It completely destroyed the tyrannical power hidden within the dragon claw. Chi-Chi. Dior was unable to withstand the terrifying power, and her body was forcefully smashed back hundreds of feet. When the purple lightning landed on D. Shirtian's body, countless terrifying wounds appeared on his body, which had been tempered to the point of invulnerability. Even the precious body could not withstand it. However, the moment the wounds opened, they immediately healed at a speed visible to the naked eye with the tyrannical recovery ability of the demon body. In the blink of an eye, he was back to normal. Crazy D, the primordial thunder dragon, is incomparably ferocious and only exists in legends. I never thought that it would be born here. Quickly retreat. Its power is too strong, and it is far from what you can contend with now. Where there is life, there is hope. When Ming saw that Di Shirtian had suffered such a great loss in just one exchange, and that even the god and devil child could not hurt the primordial thunder dragon, how could he not know how terrifying this fellow was? He roared repeatedly. His eyes widened. This was a primordial ferocious beast that could not be defeated. Roar! At this moment, the dragon claw in the air retracted. Suddenly, the countless lightning bolts in the surroundings fell into a strange silence, as if they were worshipping some kind of king. A domineering dragon roar spread out in an instant, causing the countless lightning bolts to vibrate and disperse on the spot. Boom, boom, boom. Looking at the void, a terrifying purple figure appeared in the lightning territory. Dragon. It was a huge purple dragon that was no less than 6,000 meters long. It had a total of 9 claws under its body. The dragon horns on its head were natural, and its body was covered in fine dragon scales that looked like amethysts. They gave off countless bolts of purple lightning as they shuttled around its body. At first glance, there was a kind of soul-stirring, ferocious aura. Its huge dragon eyes revealed a cold and fierce light. It was filled with a strong desire. Di Shirtian could see that it was a kind of desire for food. It was a gaze that would only appear when looking at delicious food. This primordial thunder dragon obviously regarded them as the most delicious food on the spot. Not good, this is bad. The entire lightning territory has been sealed by this primordial thunder dragon. Being in the lightning territory is equivalent to being in his domain. Lunatic D, quickly see if you can summon the demon city. If you can, with the help of the demon city, we might be able to fight it. Otherwise, we will really be buried in the dragon's stomach today. Dark keenly felt that the moment the primordial thunder dragon appeared, the entire lightning territory seemed to have turned into a cage, an independent world. In this world, the primordial thunder dragon was like a supreme god, like a fish in water. The power that erupted was absolutely terrifying to the extreme. Di Shirtian's eyes flashed with the light of wisdom. Seeing the naked desire in the primordial thunder dragon's eyes, he said coldly, "No matter how strong it is just a ferocious beast. I may have the means to suppress it. Virtual illusory land, boundless desire belong to me." Swish! Di Shirtian roared, and an unusual calmness appeared on his face. Seeing the ferocious desire in the primordial thunder dragon's eyes, an idea that could turn the situation around immediately appeared in his mind. Without hesitation, with a thought, a gorgeous divine light burst out from his body. Within the divine light, a scroll hung behind him. It quickly unfolded. The unfurled scroll transformed into a gorgeous painting. In the picture scroll, all kinds of fantasy colors were constantly intertwined, flashing back and forth, forming countless mysterious pictures and sceneries. It was as if there was a boundless truth contained in it. As soon as the picture scroll appeared, it immediately emitted bursts of magical light. At a speed visible to the naked eye, it rapidly grew bigger. In almost the blink of an eye, it had grown to the extent that it could cover heaven and earth. It hung in front of Di Shirtian and the others. The colors in the picture scroll were dazzling. After Baihu and Zhu saw it, their eyes couldn't help but become absent-minded, as if their entire minds were about to be pulled into the picture scroll. Virtual illusory land. The picture scroll condensed by Di Shirtian's domain. It could target the desires in the other's heart, evolve all kinds of illusions, and pull them in. As long as they couldn't see through the illusions, There was no way to make up for the flaws in their hearts, and there was no way to get rid of the desires in their hearts. They would sink forever. Now, Deshirtion had reached the 8th transformation of the Yaodan, and he had mastered 8 kinds of desires: sorrow, joy, anger, hearing, seeing, taste, fragrance, and touch. These 8 kinds of desires were integrated into the virtual illusory land. As long as one couldn't get rid of these 8 kinds of desires, it would be difficult for them to escape. Countless illusions could be evolved according to their desires. Delicacies, food, they're all mine. Almost instantly, the picture scroll that covered heaven and earth appeared in front of the primordial thunder dragon. In an instant, the thunder dragon only felt that in front of it, there were countless kinds of creatures, humans, demons, beasts, and so on. All kinds of creatures exuded tempting scents. In an instant, the desire in its heart was magnified 1,000 times, 10,000 times. Its eyes and mind were filled with those tempting and delicious things. Its pair of eyes were shrouded in a layer of diffuse colors. They're all mine. The primordial thunder dragon roared and immediately gave up on Deshirtion and directly pounced on the countless delicacies in front of it. Roar! With an excited dragon roar, the primordial thunder dragon waved its dragon body. Its huge body instantly touched the virtual illusory land, and strangely, the surface of the virtual illusory land rippled like water waves. It was as if there was another world behind it. The whole dragon body shuttled in and strangely disappeared. Huh, delicacies, food, they're all mine. Delicious. Deshirtion waved his hand, and the virtual illusory land in midair began to shrink in the blink of an eye and appeared in front of him. Looking at the scene in the picture scroll, the primordial thunder dragon suddenly appeared. It stretched out its dragon claws, laughed wildly, and grabbed one creature after another and sent it into its mouth, chewing with big mouthfuls. Blood flowed everywhere. It looked like it was filled with the terrible smell of blood. Its eyes were filled with madness, and it ate and swallowed the endless things in front of it. Its eyes were filled with strange colors. It didn't realize that it was already in the virtual illusory land. Chapter 651. Haha, there's another hall leader today. Thank you for the tip. Maybe there will be another alliance leader by the end of this book. Thank you. You captured the primordial thunder dragon into the virtual land of illusions. Ming's eyes almost popped out of their sockets when he witnessed this scene. He was stunned and said, "Unbelievable. This is really unbelievable. This is a primordial thunder dragon, a primordial ferocious beast that even the venerables of the ancient overlords couldn't do anything to. You actually forcefully imprison it like this. Hee, brother-in-law. Is this the virtual land of illusions that you've condensed? It's really amazing. Humph. Let's see if that thunder dragon still dares to be fierce to us. This time, it has to drink brother-in-law's foot-washing water. Brother-in-law's power of desire is really invincible, unparalleled. In the future, as long as you don't like anyone, you can directly throw them into the virtual land of illusions. It'll definitely be interesting." Zhuer excitedly looked at the primordial thunder dragon, who was immersed in its own desires in the virtual land of illusions and only knew how to devour all kinds of living creatures, and shouted excitedly, "Virtual land of illusions? As long as the heart has desires, as long as it's not the great indifference, even immortals can't escape the shackles of desire. It just depends on whose will is stronger and who is weaker. It's indeed the most terrifying power in the world. The power of desire is Shirtian's real trump card." Baihu glanced at the virtual land of illusions and then looked at Shirtan, various thoughts flashing through her mind. Humph! This primordial thunder dragon's power is indeed extremely tyrannical. Even if I use the eyes of heaven's punishment, I may not be able to gain an advantage over it. It's even more tyrannical than the ancient giants. However, its brain doesn't seem to be very bright. Its ferocity is filled with thoughts, and its actions are mostly driven by instinct. If it were someone else, perhaps even a venerable would not be able to hurt it in this thunder region. However, it still has a desire, and as long as it has a desire, it will not be able to escape from the shackles of my virtual land. Sakura looked at the primordial thunder dragon that was bound in the virtual illusion and shook his head inwardly. With just one exchange of blows, he could roughly see the truth. Although it was a ferocious beast, its ferocity was greater than its rationality. Its eyes were filled with the desire for food. These were desires. Using the virtual illusion to deal with it was simply the most perfect means. It wasn't that the lightning dragon didn't have any intelligence, but it was only equivalent to an 11 or 12-year-old child. Even more so, it was corroded by the ferocious nature. Although he was strong, once he was immersed in the illusion, it was almost impossible to escape. Tisk TSK. Why didn't I think that you had such a trump card? Ming's eyes gradually brightened, and the panic from before vanished as she shouted. However, even though we've trapped it within an illusion, it's still extremely difficult for you to suppress or subdue it. This guy was an ancient ferocious beast, one of the ancient 9 dragons. They were ferocious beasts born from heaven and earth. It's too difficult to subdue it. However, let's first trap it in the illusion to wear down its ferocity. Maybe we'll have a chance. Nether shook her head and mumbled. What's the primordial 9 dragons? Tion asked curiously. The primordial 9 dragons. They were very famous in ancient times. Ming cried out while a wisp of astonishment appeared in her eyes. She said, all formidable living beings in the world are born from the heavens and the earth. They're born from the heavens and the earth, and they're usually extremely formidable as soon as they're born. They don't have parents, so they're called primeval ferocious beasts. The more powerful a creature is, the harder it is for it to have intelligence. Born from the evil chi of heaven and earth, they are born with a terrifying, ferocious nature. Their ferocity overrides their rationality. Although they have intelligence, most of it is covered by their ferocity. Moreover, every ferocious beast has an extremely strong sense of territory. Anyone who enters their territory is an enemy. Their combat strength is extremely terrifying, and their fighting instincts are almost at the top of all living creatures. The reason why ferocious beasts were called ferocious beasts was that their ferocious nature had already become their instinct. Usually, wherever they went, blood would flow into rivers and corpses would be everywhere. It was unbearable to watch. Among the ferocious beasts, the primordial 9 dragons born from heaven and earth can be said to be the top existence among the ferocious beasts. They're the kings of the ferocious beasts. Ming continued with some recollection. Among them are the primordial thunder dragon, primordial flame dragon, primordial ice dragon, primordial wind dragon, primordial yellow dragon, primordial golden dragon, primordial poison dragon, primordial sea dragon, and primordial blood dragon. Each of them is extremely powerful. It is said that if they can suppress their ferocious nature and possess true intelligence, they will be the ancestors of the dragon clan. They will stand at the top of the world. You should have experienced the strength of the primordial thunder dragon just now. It is even more powerful than the ancient giants. Only a place filled with lightning like the lightning territory can give birth to a powerful, ferocious beast like the primordial thunder dragon. TSK. Legend has it that the demon lord once built a carriage and personally captured the primordial 9 dragons to pull the carriage. It can be said to be the only one in the world. Wherever it passed, the gods were easily defeated. Ming said with a nostalgic tone. Tian's eyes flickered. He seemed to be touched. With a thought, the virtual, illusory land in front of him instantly entered his body. It disappeared. At the same time, his divine thought communicated with the void and shouted, Demon City, descend. Rumble. A terrifying pitch-black crack instantly appeared in the void. The entire lightning domain trembled violently, and in an instant, countless crystalline divine lights radiated in all directions as a vast pressure pressed down on the heavens. A vast ancient city seemed to have sensed the summons of Sakura and forcibly traversed through the void, descending upon the lightning domain. Where's this? My God, it's all lightning outside. 5 elements lightning, 9 heavens astral lightning, purple heavens lightning. Could we be in a lightning region? We were still in the boundless void just a moment ago. How did we end up here in the blink of an eye? Can this myriad demon city withstand the lightning outside? If it can't, will we really be buried here? If we get sucked in, not even our bones will be left behind. Obviously, the concerns of the cultivators in the ancient city were unnecessary. The thousands of lightning bolts smashed into the ancient city and were immediately absorbed by the 9 heavens, 10 earths god, slaying demon exterminating seal. More than half of the lightning bolts were absorbed by the lightning gathering tower, which constantly condensed all kinds of divine lightning. Billions of lightning bolts flashed on the ancient city and rushed into the ancient city. The divine crystal that built the ancient city was like the most thirsty, ferocious beast in the world. It did not reject the lightning bolts. Like a bottomless pit, it swallowed wantonly. The entire ancient city was shining with a crystal-like divine light. The ancient city was absorbing the power of lightning to temper the city and improve the quality of the divine crystal. It allowed the divine crystal to completely merge into one. It also allowed the vitality in the ancient city to continuously approach the peak of the post-liminary realm. Seeing this, most of the experts understood that the ancient city was actually borrowing the power of the thousands of lightning bolts to increase the power of the ancient city. They could not help but exclaim inwardly. It was really amazing to talk about it. After seeing the ancient city descend, Di Shurtian contacted Shun, Shi with his divine will, and sent some of the precious spirit essences he had obtained previously into the 100 Herb Garden. Under the guidance of Dark, they quickly passed through the lightning territory. As they passed through the lightning territory, they saw many lightning beasts. They were all primordial ferocious beasts that lived in the lightning territory. They would avoid them if possible. If they could not avoid them, they would directly kill them. Without a powerful ferocious beast like the primordial lightning dragon, they could not stop their advance at all. Rumble. As soon as they came out of the lightning territory, before they could see the scene in front of them clearly, they heard a series of loud roars. The ground under their feet was shaking. It was as if someone had detonated billions of tons of explosives in front of them. What's going on? Baihu frowned slightly and quickly raised her guard. She thought to herself, could it be that someone is fighting with a ferocious beast? There were people in front of them. There were probably as many experts in a land of chaos as there were grains of sand in the universe. It was not strange to encounter them here. However, whether they could get along peacefully was a problem. Previously, they had encountered a robbery as soon as they came in. In this place, encountering other experts was not a good thing to be happy about. Sakura and the others quickly fixed their eyes and looked forward. Hey, brother-in-law, look, those 3 guys are really interesting. One is covered in iron, one is holding a kitchen knife, and one is carrying a brick. Hee, this is really fun. Zhuer glanced at it and giggled. Zhu giggled. She blinked her eyes, full of amusement. There's an ancient tomb in front. They're digging it. The white fox was extremely intelligent. With just a glance, it could see what was happening in front of it. It's those 3 clowns. Di Shurtian couldn't help but have a strange look on his face. In front of them, there was a secluded valley. In the valley, there were traces of dense fog, but it couldn't obstruct Sakura's 1,000 miles vision, which could see through the entire valley in one glance. In the valley, one was covered in steel, one was holding 2 kitchen knives, and one was holding a brick. They were precisely those 3 living treasures. Speaking of which, he had a deep impression of these 3 clowns. Back then, he had seen them for the first time in the southern barbarian lands. Later, he saw them again in the heavenly demon mystery land. They were also in the demon city. Now, he had run into them again. It seemed to be a special fate. He listened attentively. Boss, quickly, break open this broken door. The psychic jade that Miss gave us just now lit up. There must be treasures in this tomb. After we dig it up, we will be rich. We can exchange it for wine in the 1,000 Demon City. I've almost finished the wine I brought. Hee. Second brother, put away your kitchen knife and split this big stone. See if there are treasures inside. What kind of broken ancient tomb is this? I'll smash it with a brick. The three boorish men muttered in a low, muffled voice inside. Their boss, who was covered in armor, directly crashed into a tomb door made of stone that weighed more than 10,000 pounds. Good heavens, the earth shook and the mountains shook. A human-shaped hole was made in the door. The two dark and swarthy kitchen knives were terrifyingly sharp. They cut the diamond like tofu. Although their treasures were not eye-catching, they were not simple. Psychic jade? Is it one of the three psychic treasures that can sense all kinds of treasures like the psychic compass? From their unintentional words, D. Shirtion instantly caught a hint of information. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 652. In the world, there were three types of treasures that could sense the traces of various precious treasures in the world. They had a unique ability to search for treasures. In the cultivation world, they were called the psychic three treasures. They were the psychic compass, the psychic jade, and the treasure-seeking psychic mouse. The psychic jade was a type of jade that absorbed the aura emitted by countless precious treasures in the world. After countless years of precipitation, it had obtained supreme fortune and was nurtured. Since it was nurtured by the aura of countless precious treasures, it was born with the miraculous power to sense all kinds of precious treasures and the essence of the world. It was said that the jade was divided into ranks: heaven, earth, black, and yellow. Among them, the yellow-ranked psychic jade could only sense the precious treasures within a radius of 100 jong. The black-ranked psychic jade could sense the precious treasures within a radius of 1,000 jong. The earth-ranked psychic jade could sense the precious treasures within a radius of 10,000 jong. As for the most miraculous heaven-ranked psychic jade, not only could it sense the precious treasures within a radius of 10,000 jong, it could also clearly reflect the location of the precious treasures into the mind of the wearer. It could also display different kinds of treasure lights according to the rank and preciousness of the precious treasures. They were all rare and precious treasures. However, the third type, the treasure-seeking psychic mouse, was a living creature. It was a mutated species of the mouse clan and was born with the instinct to search for treasures. It was rather miraculous. Therefore, they were called the psychic three treasures. When ordinary people obtained one, it would be unparalleled luck. And now, from what he heard, the three Chin brothers in front of him clearly had a spirit-connecting jade on them. They actually managed to find this valley. Very obviously, there must be some precious treasure in this valley that triggered the reaction of the spirit-connecting jade. Besides, this valley seemed to be an ancient tomb built by a supreme expert who had fallen here in the past. It was used as a resting place. It was also a place where many cultivators sought treasures like a flock of bees. The three brothers of the Chin clan, the eldest Chin Shi, the second Chin Sheng, and the third Chin Xian. Their cultivation had broken through to the immortal monarch realm. Di Shirtion glanced at the three funny brothers, and a trace of astonishment flashed across his eyes. He mumbled to himself. With their cultivation in the past, they were able to achieve their current cultivation in such a short period of time. It seems that the three of them are also people with great luck. They must have encountered some incredible fortuitous encounters. In this world, I am not the only one with great luck. The world was filled with countless mysteries. Every day, people would encounter all kinds of fortuitous encounters and opportunities. When the calamity arrived and the great era arrived, all sorts of young geniuses with extraordinary natural talent and great karmic luck really appeared one after another, like carps crossing the river. There were as many fortuitous encounters as there were stars in the sky. Di Shirtion knew that when one's cultivation base reached a certain level, they would have many plans for the future. For example, when the Great Era arrived, they would pass down their techniques to the next generation and then compete with the elites of heaven and earth for supremacy. This was often the case, resulting in an endless stream of peerless geniuses in great eras. This was not only a competition of talent, but also the entanglement of the previous generation's grievances. Boom, boom, boom. Boss, let's hit it a few more times. Ba, what kind of tomb is this? It even has 2 doors. How unlucky. Once we open it, we'll definitely move everything inside. Quick, this broken door is about to be smashed open. Boss is mighty. Let's smash this broken door. Just as they were thinking, the scene in the valley suddenly changed. Boss Qin Shi was wearing a strange pitch-black armor that covered his entire body, making him look like a lump of iron. Moreover, he had boundless strength and was born with divine strength. Like a raging bull, he directly smashed into the heavy tomb door. The impact caused the entire valley to shake violently. On the hard tomb door, all kinds of restrictions flickered with divine light, but they were constantly destroyed by the collision. Crack! A crisp sound was heard. On the incomparably huge tomb door, small cracks appeared strangely. In an instant, they spread in all directions. The sound of glass shattering was almost continuous. In a few breaths, the tomb door was already covered with countless cracks. Bang! Seeing the cracks on the door, Qin Shi became even more excited. He directly rushed forward with a roar and smashed the second tomb door. Haha, the door is open. Second brother, third brother, quickly follow. The psychic jade is shining again. The treasure is inside. We're going to find the treasure. We're going to be rich. Big brother Qin Shi shouted excitedly as he took the lead and charged in without thinking. The 2 boorish men did not think of anything else and rushed into the ancient tomb as well. Bang! 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 They strode in with large strides. Outside, the heavy footsteps could be heard. Those 3 guys are really interesting. Brother-in-law, let's also go in and take a look. I heard that there are many treasures in the ancient tomb. Ju blinked her eyes and giggled as she grabbed Di Shirtian's arm and shook it vigorously. Obviously, she was very curious about the ancient tomb. Every ancient tomb is a treasure trove. It's the burial place of an almighty expert. Why don't we go in and take a look? Bai Hu also blinked her eyes, and a trace of craftiness flashed through the corners of her eyes. Su Tianxiang was born to like to seek all kinds of treasures. She searched for secrets. The more unknown something was, the more she liked to understand it. Otherwise, she would not have directly broken into the god-perishing abyss and stolen the imperial heavenly treasure box from the money tree. She was even heavily injured. It could be seen that her curiosity was absolutely not a small matter. All this time, she had been busy raising her cultivation. Now that she was with Di Shirtian, she could not help but reveal her true nature. Roar! Di also let out a loud cry, full of joy. That's good. There are countless ancient tombs in the land of chaos. It would have been fine if we did not find them, but since we have found them, let's go in and take a look. Who knows? We might even find some opportunities. Di Shirtian saw that everyone was very curious and could not help but smile faintly. He nodded in agreement and leaped onto the ground. Yuer's body also glowed with divine light and quickly shrunk to the size of a palm. She spread her wings and landed on Di Shirtian's shoulder, happily sticking out her head and rubbing against his neck affectionately. Let's go. Di Shirtian turned his head to look at Tian Xiang, who was dressed in a snow-white palace dress. Her ribbons fluttered in the wind, as if she was a peerless goddess who was about to leave with the wind. A hint of naturalness appeared in his eyes as he lifted his foot and walked towards the valley. Yay! Ju was also very excited. She turned into a fiery red bird the size of a palm and landed on Di Shirtian's other shoulder. She jumped around excitedly. They walked side by side. Di Shirtian was not a very handsome person, but he had a proud character. His face was chiseled, and he exuded the natural majesty of an emperor. He had a temperament that nothing in the world could hide when he stepped on the ground. Bai Hu, on the other hand, was devastatingly beautiful, which was rare in the world. Walking together, they were like a pair of celestial lovers. They were the envy of others. Patter! His footsteps were steady as he walked into the valley. Without much hesitation, he walked directly to the ancient tomb. This ancient tomb was built in the belly of a mountain. On the ground, pieces of the tomb door were scattered all over the place. Looking forward, what appeared in front of them was a flat path. The passageway of the ancient tomb was not as dark as one would imagine. Above the passageway were luminous pearls the size of a fist, emitting a glow that lit up the entire passageway as if it was daytime. They could see clearly. There was not a speck of dust on the surrounding walls. The light could illuminate people. It did not look like an ancient tomb. Instead, it looked more like a palace. Wow, so beautiful, so many pearls. Hee, brother-in-law, let's dig up these pearls later and put them in the jade pool. They must be very beautiful. Jew blinked her eyes and looked at those sparkling pearls. She could not even take her eyes off them. She flapped her wings, dug up those luminous pearls one by one, and put them into her storage ring. Tion did not stop her. He just smiled and shook his head. They continued walking forward. Whose ancient tomb is this? There are no restrictions, no mechanisms, and no traps here. As they walked, they secretly guessed in their minds. If it was really an ancient tomb, it would be filled with mazes, traps, and forbidding auras. If they were not careful, they would be buried inside. But here, the strangest thing was that there were no restrictions. There were no traps, and the ground was as flat as marble. Lunatic D, I'm afraid there's really something strange here. In my opinion, this doesn't look like a tomb. Quick, those 3 clowns are in front. They have spirit jade in their hands. Let's follow them and find out what's going on, Ming said in surprise. They walked forward quickly. When they were about to walk out of the passage and reach the main hall in front, the 3 clowns' roars sounded in their ears again. Big brother, there's nothing here. There's only this coffin. The jade keeps shining. Do you think the treasure is this coffin? Second brother is right. Let me see what's in this coffin. Big brother, second brother, come and see. There's a person lying in this coffin. It's a woman. The 2 of you move aside. Let me see if this woman is alive or dead. Why can't I see what she looks like? Forget it, second brother, third brother. Come over and open the coffin lid. Rumble. Bang. All of a sudden, the entire tomb shook as if some ancient beast was about to awaken. In the midst of a few terrifying rumbling sounds, the 3 Chin brothers let out a wave of miserable cries. It was as if they had been hit by something. Sakura quickly stepped forward and walked out of the passage. He witnessed with his own eyes those 3 burly men were like rubber balls, flying heavily from midair and smashing onto the ground. Countless cracks appeared on the ground like a spider web. A crystal ice coffin? His eyes swept past them and instantly landed on the crystal ice coffin in the center of the hall. Countless mysterious runes were flickering with strange divine light on the crystal ice coffin. Like tadpoles, they were constantly twisting and flowing. It was as if the entire ice coffin had come to life. To be continued. If you want to know what happens next, please go to www.chidian.com and read more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 653. On the surface of the crystal ice coffin, there was a dense chi. Countless mysterious talismans appeared on the coffin. They seemed to be a mysterious, sacrificial text or an incredible seal. On the ice coffin, there was a strange divine light that rippled like water. Pada! Beside the crystal ice coffin, an ancient green lamp fell to the ground. It was an ancient lamp. The shape of the lamp was similar to an ancient palace lamp. It was almost the same as the treasured lotus lamp that was described in the legends of Sakura's previous life. It was just that this lamp had a kind of demonic green color. It was incomparably green, but it had a jade-like luster. There was a faint green light, and it gave off a cold and demonic aura. However, the strange thing was that there was no lamp core in this lamp. There was no light coming from it. The ancient lamp emitted a strange demonic aura. It was an extremely ancient demonic aura. Buzz. Buzz. After the demonic ancient lamp fell to the ground, it suddenly emitted a faint green flame. The lamp vibrated and flew into the air, causing the surrounding space to distort. It spun a few rounds in the air, naturally following a mysterious trajectory. It seemed to contain the truth of heaven and earth. Whoosh! After the ancient lamp spun a few times, it drew a line in front of Sumo, and a crack appeared in the void. Then, the lamp rushed into the crack and disappeared mysteriously. This ancient lamp, except for the color and the aura it emits, is exactly the same as the netherworld ghost lamp I saw in the heavenly demon mystery land. In an instant, thousands of huge waves were stirred up in Sakura's heart. Countless thoughts emerged in his mind, and he could not help but recall the scene when he saw the netherworld ghost lamp in the yellow spring sacred river in the sky demon's secret realm. The two lamps were almost identical on the outside, except for the color and the aura they emitted. There was no difference at all. Blood altar, celestial demon picture, demon summoning banner. 9 ancient lamps, summoning ancestor. 9 ancient lamps. Could there really be 9 ancient lamps in this world? A thought flashed through the Sakura's mind. Could it be that the netherworld ghost lantern of that year and this ancient lantern were both one of the 9 ancient lanterns in the legends? Yes. On the other hand, Ming couldn't help but gasp when she saw the ancient lamp, and she exclaimed, "The ancient suppression demonic lamp." This demonic chi was so ancient that there was no mistaking it. This was definitely the most precious treasure of the demon race, the ancient suppression demon lamp. This was the supreme treasure of the demon race. Back in the ancient times, there was an ancient lamp like this. Ever since the birth of the demon race, it was a primordial spiritual treasure nurtured by the heavens and earth. It's just that no one has ever seen it before. Why would it appear here? Could it be that it's suppressing this crystal coffin? Who is it? Who is in the ice coffin? The ancient suppression demonic lamp was the most precious treasure of the demonic clan. With a lamp in one's body, one would be impervious to all evils, but it could also suppress all demonic beasts in the world. He actually used this demonic lamp to suppress the ice coffin. Could it be that the ice coffin was sealed with a great medium of the demon clan, or an ancient demon god? My goodness, if that's the case, who could suppress such an expert? Ming began to mutter crazily to herself. She didn't even know how to speak properly. She fell into chaos. One is the netherworld ghost lantern, which is connected to the souls of all ghosts in the world. The other is the ancient suppression demonic lamp, which is connected to the demon race of the heavens and earth. It's the most precious treasure of the demon race. If they're all primordial spiritual treasures, then if there are really 9 of them, what are the remaining 7? When Sakura heard Ming, he started to ponder in his heart. With his wisdom, even though he hadn't seen it with his own 2 eyes, he faintly guessed that these 9 ancient lamps probably contained a world-shocking secret, and they seemed to be greatly related to the clans of the heavens and the earth. Rumble. A terrifying roar resounded in his ears. Sakura, who was in deep thought, felt his arm tighten. Turning his head, he realized that he was caught in the white fox's hand. Apparently, he was a little nervous about the scene in front of him. He looked down. Without the suppression of the ancient suppressing demonic lamp, the lines on the ice coffin became even more bizarre, and they continuously swam and twisted. The coffin glowed with a strange crystal light and shook violently. With a boom, it rose from the ground and slammed into the ceiling. Bang! The crystal ice coffin was mysterious and seemed to have infinite power. When it slammed into the ceiling, a large hole was made in the solid ancient tomb. However, at the instant when the ice coffin broke through the air, Sakura saw the scene in the ice coffin with his innate divine ability of clairvoyance. Even with his tenacious will, he still couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. His eyes widened in an instant, and an extremely shocked expression appeared on his face. That's a head? His words were filled with shock. There was actually only a head sealed within such a crystallized coffin. However, even with a quick glance, he could not help but feel stunned by the head. Its cold and elegant appearance was like a brand that was instantly imprinted in his mind. Its appearance was not inferior to Baihu's at all. Moreover, At that moment, he could clearly feel that pair of cold eyes pausing on him for a moment. There seemed to be a flash of strange light. Obviously, the head was still awake and still alive. Or rather, it had already woken up. Oh my God, who is this? There's only a head sealed in such a crystal coffin. Could it be that the legend is true? There was a rumor in ancient times that there were 9 heavenly coffins in the world. Each heavenly coffin sealed a part of the body of a supreme expert, as well as his treasures and weapons. Head, hands, feet, body. They were all cut into pieces and sealed in different places. Who was it that was sealed? Why hadn't they heard of such a powerful expert in ancient times? Her body was divided into 6 parts, but she was still able to live forever. If she could reunite her body and recover, how terrifying would that be? When Ming saw the scene in the crystallized coffin, he couldn't help but be filled with fear. It was as though he had seen the most unbelievable thing in the world. Even though her body had been divided and sealed for countless years, she was still able to live forever. Her cultivation had reached an unbelievable level. She was probably close to the highest level of indestructibility. Bang! Roar! The land of chaos was filled with endless disasters. Among these disasters, there were countless ferocious beasts that were waiting for an opportunity to devour the intruders. Suddenly, a crystal coffin appeared. It didn't care about the disasters in the world and directly smashed into the body of a soul-devouring beast. Under the ice coffin, the ferocious beast's tough and tyrannical, fleshly body crumbled on the spot. It was instantly crushed into meat paste. The ferocious beast's abundant blood essence was actually channeled into the heavenly coffin. The patterns on the surface of the ice coffin gradually turned blood red and devoured the beast's blood essence. Then, the blood-red color on the ice coffin also disappeared. However, a blood-red hexagonal crystal formed in the ice coffin. It emitted a strange blood-red light that illuminated the coffin. The heavenly coffin shuttled through the void again and rushed to other places. Everywhere it passed, the ferocious beasts were crushed to death by the heavenly coffin. Their blood essences were devoured and turned into blood crystals. Along the way, the all-heavens experts were also crushed to death by the heavenly coffin. Everywhere it passed, corpses were strewn everywhere. Innate ability, all-seeing eyes. Tion immediately used his ability to follow the heavenly coffin. He witnessed the scene of the heavenly coffin killing the ferocious beasts. He couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart. Moreover, the heavenly coffin disappeared in an instant. Even the all-seeing eyes couldn't follow it. He lost track of it. Amazing. It's really a supreme expert. Tion took a deep breath and closed his eyes, slowly calming his mind down. After a long while, he gradually opened his eyes. His eyes finally regained its calmness with a kind of unparalleled firmness. He lifted his head and looked into the sky. His eyes were deep as he said, "My body is dead, but my soul is not extinguished. One day, I will reach that level and stand above the heavens and earth, eternally immortal." His eyes exuded a strong sense of confidence. He had the self-created Huangji World Shocking Book. He had an unyielding will and a supreme will. If others can do it, why can't I? Even if those who are stronger than me now are just one step ahead of me. Sooner or later, I will surpass them. The belief in his heart was still unwavering. One evil coffin. It actually hurt me so much. Second brother, third brother, are you dead? If you're not, squeak. Qin Shi spat out 2 mouthfuls of saliva. His mouth was full of dust. He climbed up shakily from the ground. It seemed that the impact was not light. Squeak, squeak, squeak. 2 strange squeaks came from the 2 brothers who were lying on the ground. They also struggled to get up slowly. Unlucky, didn't the spirit communication jade that Miss gave us say that we can find treasures? Why do we find such a sinister coffin? Qin Shi shook his head and swept his gaze over. He saw Sakura Azia and his group standing outside the hall. "Who are you? Why are you following us? Do you want to rob us?" he asked with a muffled voice. When Tion saw this, he smiled lightly. With a flash of light, 3 jade gourds appeared in his hand. He threw them to the three Chin brothers and turned around to say to Baihu, "Let's go." The crystal ice coffin broke through the seal and left. Clearly, this was not an ordinary ancient tomb. There would not be any inheritance or treasures. There was no need to stay here. He threw the 1,000 snow ginseng wine to the three brothers. It had a miraculous effect on healing injuries. He had a good impression of them. Giving them the wine was just a casual thing. Watching Dishurtian leave with Baihu, Qin Shi opened the gourd and smelled it. A strange light flashed across his eyes. It seems that this chaotic place is not simple. The ancient tombs here all contain great secrets. According to what you said, I am afraid this ancient tomb has existed since the ancient times. It has existed even longer than Myriad Calamity Ancestor's cave. After leaving the valley, Dishurtian conversed with Dark in his mind. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please go to www.chitian.com. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 654. Of course, the land of chaos isn't simple. Dark shook his head and tossed the scene he had just seen out of his mind. He muttered, "This lousy place appeared at the same time as the Source Continent and the Demon God Continent. Back then, the axe light that came out of nowhere cut the purple egg that was born in the primordial chaos into two halves, which then evolved into the two worlds of today. At that time, a fragment of chaos fell in. In the endless void, it turned into the land of chaos. There are disasters everywhere. Otherwise, primordial beasts wouldn't have been born. To think that there's such an origin." Dishurtian had only asked casually. He didn't expect to hear such an incredible thing. It seemed that the land of chaos had an extraordinary origin. It was actually formed from a fragment of chaos. It was like a place that was independent of the Source Continent. It was older and more ancient than the myriad of worlds. No wonder primordial beasts like the primordial thunder dragon could be born in such a place. No wonder this place was filled with such a tyrannical aura of disaster and a large number of precious spiritual essences of heaven and earth. Sakura secretly thought. However, after taking a deep breath, he also put all the things that he had witnessed in the valley into the depths of his mind. There were some things that were far from what he could reach now. No matter how much he thought about it, he would only be looking for trouble. When he was strong enough in the future, all secrets would naturally be revealed before him. Forget it. These things will be revealed soon. Dark, what should we do next? The most important thing now is to get the connate spiritual embryo in the Myriad Tribulations cave abode. Dishurtian looked at the void. There were all kinds of disasters everywhere. His eyes had regained their calmness. There was a glimmer of light in his deep eyes. He clearly knew what he should do now. Don't be afraid. When I refined the Myriad Tribulations compass, I left a mark in it that can lead to the Myriad Tribulations cave abode. However, they should still be fighting with those beasts. It's easy to get ahead of them. We can make it to the life and death line and wait." Dark laughed strangely with an inexplicable charm. There was a strong sense of conspiracy in his laughter. Clearly, he had done many things to the compass. Go to the life and death one-line sky." Sakura looked at the white fox and said with a faint smile, It grew bigger again. Under Ming's guidance, she quickly avoided all kinds of terrifying calamities and rushed toward the life and death line. At this moment, in the forbidden area of the Kingdom of Chu in the Purple Gold Continent, the Chu clan's manor was enveloped by all kinds of formations. It was hidden within the mountain forest and was not exposed to the outside world. Shrouded in a dense fog all year round, it was mysterious. No one knew that in such a forbidden area, there was actually such a huge villa. In the mountain manor, everyone was a direct descendant of the royal clan of Chu. The rich yuan qi of heaven and earth filled every inch of the air in the mountain villa. Just taking a breath would allow ordinary people in the mortal world to live longer and be cured of all diseases. All sorts of strange flowers and herbs could be seen everywhere, making the mountain manor look like a paradise in the mortal world. Even the maids were rare beauties in the secular world. In the sky above the villa, there was a thick layer of purple qi. Within the purple qi, There was an incomparably noble aura of an emperor. It vaguely made the entire mountain manor look like an imperial palace. It was exceptionally noble. It was obvious that the Chu clan seemed to be cultivating the emperor's path. In a quiet room in the mountain manor, a middle-aged man in green sat quietly on a praying mat. Above his head, streams of purple chi were constantly pouring into his body. Outside his body, there were 3 indistinct azure dragons swimming. His body emitted waves of pressure that was not inferior to that of an immortal. Suddenly, the storage ring on his left hand glowed strangely. Bang! The storage ring, which could store all kinds of things, suddenly had countless small cracks. In an instant, the cracks spread to the entire ring. With a boom, the ring exploded like a bomb. On the spot, a large number of items and materials appeared from the void and covered the ground in the blink of an eye. Poof! Chu Tianan, who was cultivating in the quiet room, did not expect that disaster would come from the sky while he was sitting at home. The explosion of the ring and the force of the explosion hit him, causing his body to tremble violently. He spat out a mouthful of blood. His eyes were filled with shock and confusion. For a moment, he did not recover from the unforeseen event in front of him. Oomph! In the void, there seemed to be an indescribable cold snort. From the destroyed ring, a jade-like hand flew into the air. The palm lines on the jade-like hand were clearly visible. On the surface of the hand, a gentle jade light flowed continuously like water, as if it had a life of its own. It emitted a mysterious aura. A primordial demonic aura emerged from the hand. It flew into the air. He made a grabbing motion in the air towards Chu Tianan, who was still in shock and fear. Instantly, Chu Tianan's tall and large body, under an indescribable power, strangely began to shrink. Moreover, as it shrank, it quickly sucked in the jade-like hand. In the blink of an eye, Chu Tianan, who was already an immortal, was so easily seized in the palm of his hand. With a light squeeze, Chu Tianan's entire body was crushed in a meat paste on the spot. Even his soul was crushed into fine powder in an instant. Under a strange kind of power, it turned into a gorgeous blood-colored crystal. Rumble. After the jade-like hand crushed Chu Tianan to death, it did not hesitate to smash a huge hole in the ceiling of the quiet room. It turned into a jade light and fled into the void. Third brother. The entire villa shook violently. Dressed in imperial robes, Chu Tianxing rushed into the quiet room. When he saw the mess in the room, he felt as if his liver and guts were about to burst. His eyes were bloodshot. He cried out in grief. He glared hatefully at the jade-like figure. In the villa, one figure after another appeared, but they were all dumbfounded and helpless. In the Bedlam lands, there was a long and narrow canyon. It looked like a mountain peak with 10,000 blades. It had been cut in half by a sharp weapon. It had formed this canyon. The canyon was surrounded by a strange force. Even divine sense could not penetrate it to investigate the situation inside. However, it exuded an ancient aura that seemed to have existed since time immemorial. On the left side of the canyon were pitch-black poisonous gas, miasma, and swamps. It was so black that even ink could not dissolve it. It was a deathly aura. It was like a terrifying beast that could devour a person at any time. It covered a large area and stretched as far as the eye could see. This was the poisonous swamps of the Bedlam lands. Looking to the right, countless flames appeared out of nowhere. Blazing flames appeared everywhere. Even the ground was burning. Even the air was filled with flames. Moreover, the flames were unimaginably overbearing. The deeper one went, the deeper the color of the flames became. Violent flames filled every inch of the air. There was a destructive aura everywhere. Anyone who looked at it would feel a chill in their heart. This was the burning flame region of the Bedlam lands. Tornadoes danced in the air above the canyon, forming ferocious wind dragons. Countless sharp wind blades danced in the air, stirring up countless storms. The terrifying roar of the wind could be heard in one's mind, as if it could blow away one's soul. All kinds of strange winds appeared frequently. This was the heartless wind region of the Bedlam lands. Under these various desolate regions, the entire world was separated, and the canyon in the middle of these desolate regions was the only way to reach the other side. It was like a ray of hope in a hopeless situation. Thus, it was called the life and death line. This is the life and death line. Storms, poisonous gas, raging fire. This is the most terrifying place in the world, just like the lightning region. The canyon is in the middle of a disaster, but it has abandoned all disasters. It really is like a ray of hope in a hopeless situation. The life and death line really lives up to its name. Su Tianxiang's beautiful eyes looked forward, watching the terrifying disasters constantly being destroyed and reappearing in an endless cycle. She was secretly shocked. She thought to herself, I have just broken through to the seventh transformation realm and am an ancient great demon. If I were to get involved, I'm afraid not even my bones would remain. However, there are countless opportunities in the Bedlam lands. With Shurtian's cultivation speed, he will definitely reach a realm that ordinary people can't reach in a short time. If I want to capture his heart, at least I can't be a burden. I have comprehended the great Tao in the Bodhi tree, and my mental state has reached the demon saint level. There will be no more obstacles in the process of becoming a demon saint. Chen Shi, Su Tianxiang, will not be worse than you. She thought to herself. First, she wanted to have a chance to be alone with Di Shurtian. Second, she wanted to see if she could obtain an opportunity to improve her cultivation. Brother-in-law, after transforming into a vermilion bird, Zhur, who stood on Indra's shoulder, stared at the boundless sea of flames. In its eyes, a look of longing could be seen. With regards to fire, it had an innate affinity with it. Zhur feels that there is something in the sea of fire that can make me stronger. Her expression was full of excitement, as if she had the urge to fly into the sea of fire. Di Shurtian glanced at the sea of fire and vaguely felt that there was a terrifying beast that was not inferior to the primordial thunder dragon. An invisible deterrence permeated the void. He patted the vermilion bird's little head gently and said, That sea of fire is too dangerous for you. After I'm done with the Myriad Tribulations cave abode, I will summon the Myriad Demon City to accompany you in search of opportunities. Unlucky. All of a sudden, Nether shouted in his mind, sounding very unlucky. His face was full of disgust, as if he had eaten feces. Why do I see this annoying jinx everywhere I go? His voice was full of indignation and disgust. Jinx? Shingongbao. Di Shurtian immediately activated his divine ability, clairvoyance. His two eyes looked forward. In the canyon, right before the line of life and death, a figure with the demeanor of a transcendent being appeared before him. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chijian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 655. Brothers, if you have a ticket, please help me. Bad luck. Even though Di Shurtian had a strong will, his face changed slightly, and he couldn't help but curse in his heart. However, there was also a trace of anger in his mind. I didn't expect that there would be such a jinx in such a lively place. Back in the fallen god abyss, they even dared to steal my treasure. Now that I've met them, I must get them back no matter what. Di Shurtian's pupils shrank violently, and he recalled what happened in the fallen god abyss. He thought of the 3 treasures he got under the money tree, and 2 of them were taken away by the 3 jinxes. He couldn't help but feel angry. It was like plucking the hair from a tiger's head. Back then, when the million treasure red tide was imminent, the 3 jinxes were powerful and couldn't do anything. However, he had never forgotten this grudge and had always buried it in his heart. Now that he saw Shan Gongbao, who was now Shingong Hu, suddenly, the anger from back then couldn't help but surge out again. Back then, I only got one of the 3 treasures, the sapling of the peach tree, the natural spiritual root, and the other 2 fell at the same time. Although I don't know what they are, they must be as precious as the peach tree. Humph, these things are not that easy to swallow. Even if I swallow them, I will make you spit them out obediently." The nameless anger rose. What happened back then had always been a thing in his heart that he couldn't let go. However, the three jinxes of the heaven realm had always been elusive. No one knew where they would appear. Moreover, the three of them were very evil, especially Shun Gongbao, who was a pure jinx. Anyone who met him would be unlucky. No one would go and meet him for no reason. Unlucky? Evil? Jinx? Humph. Back then, I hadn't cultivated the Royal Extreme Book to a high level. Now, the Demon City has been built, and the royal purple chi that belongs to me has gathered in the Lingxiao Palace. It has merged with the power of desire to form the unique Royal Extreme Purple Chi. Let's see if you can make me unlucky again. You are evil, and I have the root of all evil in my body. He took a deep breath and muttered to himself, "The scariest thing about Shun Gongbao is his weird bad luck. Whoever touches him will be unlucky. It can be said that he is the body of all evils." However, Di Shirtian now had his own monarch Violet Chi. Together with the power of desire, they fused together to form the extreme monarch Violet Chi. No matter how evil it was, it might not be able to do anything to him. He thought to himself, "No matter what, I have to make the three Pez spit out the two treasures that were taken away that year." His eyes also carefully looked at him. Under the power of his innate ability, the all-seeing eyes, he could see things clearly even if they were thousands of miles away. With a single glance, the scene before the life and death line was reflected in his eyes. This god of plagues is actually standing in front of the line between life and death. What is he trying to do? When he took a look, a trace of doubt appeared on his face. In front of the line, there was an ancient big stone. The stone was incomparably smooth. Shun Gongbao, dressed in a green Taoist robe, was sitting cross-legged on the stone, a horsetail whisk in front of his knees. There was a faint smile on his face, and his robes fluttered in the wind. He looked like an immortal with a celestial aura and made people suddenly feel respect for him. He was like an otherworldly expert. If one did not know him, they would be deceived by his appearance on the spot and think that he was a Taoist. No one would see him as a god of plagues. He was the god of misfortune. Madman D, don't be in a hurry to go over. It seems that there will be a good show to watch. This god of misfortune is definitely not simple. In my opinion, he is probably blocking the way. TSK. I don't know what will happen when the experts of the various races arrive. It will definitely be interesting. Ming rolled his eyes and laughed strangely. Shun Gongbao, this god of misfortune, is blocking the way and robbing? Could it be that he really doesn't want to live anymore? Sakura was secretly puzzled. He took a meaningful glance at him and muttered to himself, "Although that strange evil aura of his is very evil. But even in the ancient times, he was killed by the powerful experts several times and sent into the cycle of reincarnation. It can be seen that his evil aura isn't something that can be cursed by just anyone. Blocking the road and robbing here, his guts are really not ordinary. The Myriad Calamity Cave abode is behind the line between life and death. This is the only way. He is blocking here. It seems that he really wants to do business without any cost. Look, the god of misfortune is moving." He looked over and saw Shun Gongbao reaching into his clothes and taking out a stone tablet. He threw the stone tablet forward. The stone tablet expanded and fell to the ground with a loud bang, as if it had grown out of the ground on the spot. Hiss! Ming sucked in a breath of cold air, and his eyes were about to pop out. He screamed, "My goodness, this guy really dares to do it. He is really invincible when he has no sense of shame. This mountain is split by me, and this road is open by me. If you want to pass by, you have to pay for the road." Sakura's 1,000-mile eyes saw the words on the stone tablet at a glance. When he saw it, he almost fainted on the spot. The corner of his mouth kept twitching. This jinx is really going to block the road and rob. Did he take the wrong medicine? Now that he was blocking in front of the line, it was simply making an enemy of countless experts in the universe. According to his character, he would definitely not be such a reckless person who offended countless experts. When there was danger, he would run faster than anyone else. But at this time, he did the most impossible thing. He is Shun Gongbao. When Baihu heard this, her expression changed. She was secretly shocked. Humph, brother-in-law, he stole our treasure. Let's go and get it back later. Zhu shouted indignantly. How? You also let out a cry, as if agreeing with her words. Don't worry, since there is show to watch, there is no reason not to. Di Shitian's expression returned to calmness, and said meaningfully, Originally, we were going to wait here for the experts of the universe to come, and let them be the vanguard to explore the situation of the myriad calamity cave. We were not in a hurry to go to the cave. The scene in front of us will be very interesting. Looking around, there was a stone forest nearby. He turned around and hid in the stone forest and automatically operated his cultivation technique and cultivated, seizing every minute and second to accumulate true power. At the same time, he gave Baihu and the others a few mouthfuls of the phantom spirit escape wine, so that their figures could escape into the void, quietly waiting for the experts of the universe to arrive. The map shown by the myriad calamity compass was very complicated and led to many dangerous places. According to estimation, it would be almost impossible for them to reach the life and death line in front of them without a month or so. Therefore, Di Shitian was not in a hurry. Instead, he peacefully cultivated in silence. In this chaotic place, time seemed to have no meaning. Almost at every moment, countless disasters were constantly being annihilated and even born. It formed all kinds of terrifying scenes. However, in the blink of an eye, a month quietly passed by. The life and death line, we have arrived. Young master, we have arrived. As long as we pass through the life and death line, we will find the location of the myriad calamity cave. Yes, no matter how arrogant that Tai Xian and those so-called young elites of the 100 races are, I still left them behind and was the first to arrive here. A young man in a dark golden brocade robe gently waved a black fracture fan in his hand, looking very handsome and outstanding. He had an elegant demeanor, and there was a hint of pride in his eyes. His body naturally exuded a strong, murderous aura. It was obvious that he was not a mediocre person. The blood on his hands was definitely not a small amount. Behind him, there were two old men. However, the two old men's faces were actually wearing ferocious masks. It made the surrounding air exude a chill. Huh! The young man waved his hand, closed the folding fan, and said, Let's go. We will pass through the heaven line and enter the myriad calamity cave first. Tian knew, immediately send a signal to the other members of the black demons to gather around us. This time, I want to seize the opportunity first. Yes, Heavenly Slave took out a strange black ball and tossed it into the sky. It exploded in the void, and a huge, ghostly figure appeared. It disappeared in an instant. Huh! Walking to the life and death line, the young man could not help but let out a cry of surprise when he saw Shun Gongbao sitting on a big rock. But in the blink of an eye, he sneered and walked into the heaven line without any scruples. His body passed in front of the stone tablet, just as he stepped on the ground of the heaven line. Suddenly, a casual voice came to the ears of the three people. Fellow cultivator, please wait. As soon as the sentence came out, the young man and the two old men who had already raised their feet involuntarily stopped on the spot. It was as if there was a strange force that made them do that involuntarily. Humph! Who are you? A trace of coldness appeared in the young man's eyes. He turned to look at Shingong and asked in a cold voice. I am Shingong. Shun Gongbao said with a gentle smile. He opened his eyes and looked at the three of them. He seemed to be a good person. No one could find fault with him in the first impression. Shingong? The young man did not think of anything else. He only thought that his surname was Shun and his name was Gong. You Taoist, what do you mean by asking me to stop here? Please look at the stone tablet. Shingong chuckled as he pointed at the stone tablet. The stone tablet buzzed as it turned around, facing the young man and the two old men. I'm the one who split this mountain and opened this road. If you want to pass by here, leave the money to buy the road. When the young man in black saw this, he laughed instead of being angry. He looked at Shen Gong with a mocking expression and said coldly, "It seems that you stinking Taoists are tired of living. Robbery? You actually dare to rob me? You must be really blind. Tian Nu, cut him up for me. I want to take his bones and make soup to drink." His words were filled with a kind of coldness that made people's hearts turn cold. With his identity, he was not in the position to rob others wherever he went. Now, there was actually a day when he was robbed. It was simply a great humiliation. One must know that his name, He Sha, made people tremble in fear no matter where he was in the universe. To rob him, they were really blind. To be continued. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chijian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 656. Bang! The mask on Tian Nu's face seemed to be able to change according to his will, making him look even more ferocious. His eyes were emitting a chilling light. Shen Gongbao's act of robbing them had already ignited the anger in their hearts. They had always been the ones who bullied others, and no one dared to bully them. Now they were robbed by this stinky Taoist. If this matter were to spread out, they would become the laughingstock of countless experts in the universe. Since when did the black evil spirit fall to the point of being robbed? Now that he had received the black-clothed young man's order, he did not hesitate at all. His right hand drew a circle in a strange trajectory towards Shen Gongbao, and then he slapped his palm towards Shen Gongbao's head. In the void, a pitch-black palm with a radius of a few hundred feet was instantly formed. As soon as the palm appeared, all the light in the surroundings seemed to be swallowed by it in an instant. An endless dark aura was emitted from the palm. It made the entire heaven and earth seem to be engulfed in darkness. This darkness was terrifying. Vaguely, it was going to destroy all the light. The great dark palm. Looking at the fluctuation that was emitted from Tian Nu's attack, his cultivation had already reached the peak of the celestial lord realm. He was just a step away from becoming an ancient giant. When the palm landed, no matter how hard the body was, it would be smashed into dust. Boom! Boom! However, Shen Gongbao was still sitting on the ancient rock, motionless. He still had a smile on his face, and immortal chi surrounded him, making him look like an immortal. He did not even bat an eyelid at the great dark palm that was coming towards him. However, the rock under him suddenly shook, and rays of green light burst out from the rock. In an instant, the rays of green light wrapped around his body and formed a green auspicious cloud above his head. Under the auspicious cloud, Shen Gongbao had a unique aura. He really wanted to ride the wind and fly away. The great dark palm landed on the auspicious cloud. The cloud rolled violently and unbelievably resisted the attack. The rock under him shook, and the palm was instantly shattered into dust. Whoosh! At the same time, a ball of incandescent flames suddenly fell from the sky and swept towards Tian Nu without any warning. Wherever the flame passed, even the void began to burn strangely. One could imagine how terrifying the power contained in the flame was. Once it was stuck, not even dregs would be left. Tian Nu's expression changed. Vermilion bird divine, fire? Without any hesitation, he waved his hand and sent out another great darkness palm. The power of darkness condensed and emitted a cold, baleful aura as the palm struck the flames. The vermilion bird divine fire and the great darkness palm clashed together, creating a terrifying sound of collision. The surrounding space shook violently, and even space itself was distorted. Ghost God Heaven Destroyer Seal. Heavenly Slave tossed a strange seal with the image of a demon god in it out of his hand. It expanded instantly, and the power of the demon god swept across the surroundings. The seal smashed into the flames. Instantly, the vermilion bird divine fire was destroyed by the great darkness palm and the ancient seal. Phew! Heavenly Slave heaved a sigh of relief when he saw this. Be careful. However, at the same time, the young man and earthly slave's expressions changed drastically. They both let out a cry of alarm. She hurriedly looked up, and with this look, Her eyes were filled with shock. She could no longer hide it, and her face was filled with fear. Seven-colored miasma poison? The seven-colored miasma poison above his head instantly enveloped Heavenly Slave. It came without a sound, and its speed was unbelievably fast. Heavenly Slave did not even have time to react. He could only let out a cry of despair before his entire body was enveloped by the strange seven-colored miasma poison. Art into miasma. Even with Heavenly Slave's cultivation as a peak celestial lord, the protective divine light around his body was corroded in an instant. After struggling for a while, his entire body disappeared at a speed visible to the naked eye. His blood-curdling screams could be heard. His flesh, blood, and bones were strangely devoured by the miasma. The young man's eyes suddenly narrowed. His expression changed completely as he looked at Shun Gong. What's going on? How could Heavenly Slave die in such a baffling manner? Is this your doing? His mind raced as he thought about the previous scene. The vermilion bird divine fire and the seven-color miasma poison did not seem to be man-made at all. They appeared out of nowhere and attacked Heavenly Slave at the same time. It was normal if it happened once, but if it happened twice at the same time, it was definitely not a simple coincidence. Shun Gong? You said you're Shun Gong? Suddenly, the young man's eyes widened. He could not help but gasp in shock. Could it be that you're the legendary Bane, the god of misfortune, Shun Gong Bao, one of the three evils of the heaven realm? Fellow Taoist, please wait a moment. Isn't this the catchphrase of Shun Gong, the Bane? After encountering him, one would encounter all kinds of misfortunes, disasters, and fireballs falling from the sky. Isn't this the sign of bad luck after offending the Bane? On the surface, he looks like an immortal, but on the inside, he's despicable, shameless, and cunning. Isn't this how he looks now? The young man could not help but gasp when he compared the traits in his mind with Shun Gong's. Damn it, it's the Bane. What bad luck. The young man's name was Hei Tong. He was the young master of the Black Demons. He had always been a reckless guy. However, after guessing that the person in front of him was the legendary god of misfortune, he could not help but swallow his saliva. He did not dare to act rashly. He knew that in the ancient times, even the most powerful experts were unlucky when they encountered this Bane. If they offended him, they might even lose their lives for no reason. So it's Senior Shun Gong. Hei Tong closed his fan and bowed to Shun Gong with a smile. My father is the Black Demon Patriarch. I'm sure you've heard of him. I've offended you just now. Please don't take it to heart. He introduced himself and lowered himself. It was as if he was saying, my father is the Black Demon Patriarch. Please, for my father's sake, let me pass through here. I hacked this mountain and opened this road. If you want to pass through here, you'll have to pay the toll. Shun Gong was still smiling. He did not agree and just repeated the words on the stone tablet. Obviously, he still wanted to rob. This is interesting. The Black Demon Young Master is actually robbed one day. This is really interesting. However, does Shun Gong Bao think that he can stop the 10 immortal sects? Interesting. A sharp sword chi soared into the sky, shaking the stars. It was like an ancient sword that had existed since time immemorial. Looking over, one could see the descendant of the heavenly sword valley, Ao Chun, loftily walking over. The arrogance on his body was as strong as usual. He was proud, so was his sword. He walked over and looked at Hei Tong with a hint of sarcasm in his eyes. Today I must pass through this life and death line. Ao Chen's arrogance soared to the sky. It was as if there was an invisible sword under him. His whole body swept toward the life and death line like a flickering light and passing shadow. However, it could be seen that he was still a little afraid of Shun Gong. He did not directly attack him. His speed was as fast as lightning. Almost in the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of the life and death line and was about to enter it. Fellow cultivator, please wait. Shun Gong said calmly, neither hurriedly nor slowly. These words seemed to have infinite power. Ao Chen's lightning-fast body, which had transformed into a stream of light, suddenly stopped in midair without any warning. The sudden change from movement to stillness almost made him want to vomit blood on the spot. You? Ao Chin's face suddenly changed. The sword on his back kept trembling and making soft sounds. The sword chi around him was spreading, as if it was about to spurt out. He swung his sword directly toward Shengong to kill him. Senior Shengong, with your status, it is a little inappropriate for you to block the way here. Experts from all heavens came one after another. A young girl, with a natural charm, floated over on a ninth-grade green lotus. There was a strange sandalwood fragrance in the air. Her body was enveloped by a holy aura, like a peerless saintess who was untainted by mud. She was awe-inspiring and inviolable. She wanted to transcend the mortal world. In her left hand, she held a jade bottle with a jade bamboo stick in it. That aura did not belong to the successor of Ci, Hangjing Zhai, Ming Yao. Who else could it be? Around her, Tai Xian of the Great Void Palace and Ding Dang of the Myriad Demons Palace. They all showed themselves. Behind them, a large number of figures came one after another. Elites from all races gathered in front of the life and death line. The Dragon Clan, the Azura Clan, the Three-Eyed Divine Clan, and other major clans came one after another. Looking at the compass in Tai Xian's hand, they knew that they all came here under the guidance of the compass. Boom! When Shun Gong saw the experts from all heavens coming, he was not afraid. Instead, he reached out and pointed at the stone steel, making the steel face all the elites in front of him. The words on the stone steel were instantly reflected in everyone's eyes. I am here only for money. As long as you pay the toll, the road in front of you will naturally be unimpeded, Shin Gong said with a smile. Hee hee. Ding Dang blinked her eyes, covered her mouth, and chuckled. Master, you said that this mountain was split open by you. Yes, this mountain is called Mount Shumi. In ancient times, I saw that there were disasters here, and there was no road to go through. With a fearless spirit, I split the mountain from the middle with one palm. That is why there is this road in front of us, the life and death line. Shengong had a righteous look on his face. Judging from his appearance and the way he spoke, it seemed as if he was serious about this matter. He said it with a nose and eyes. Bah, this jinx is really King shameless. This mountain was split by him. This is clearly the road split by Ancestor 1 Jie back then. He is really lying with his eyes wide open. He is not afraid of blinding his dog eyes. Di Shirtan, who was hiding in the void, naturally saw everything in front of him. When he heard Shen Gong's righteous words, Ming unceremoniously cursed. To be continued. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.Chijian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 657. Brothers with tickets, please support me. Monthly tickets are in short supply. A shameless person is invincible. He could even lie in such a righteous and dignified manner. It was really admirable. Bah, shameless. This was simply too shameless. This life and death line has existed since the ancient times. How could it have been created by him? I've seen shameless people, but I've never seen such a shameless person. The three evils of the heaven realm, they are indeed the three evils. In the past, when they were in the heaven realm, they cheated and used all sorts of methods. They even robbed many times. Now, they actually came here to rob and speak so righteously. He's too shameless. It's a waste of his sage-like appearance. Everyone, don't be afraid of him. So what if he's the reincarnation of a jinx? There are so many young elites here. Why should we be afraid of him? If we're robbed by him here, then our faces will be thrown into the Huang Quan River. Today, we must get rid of the three evils for the heaven realm. I don't believe that his bad luck is really that bad. Seeing Shun Gongbao's righteous face, countless young elites were so angry that their noses were about to become crooked. A series of angry shouts came one after another. Bang! 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 The ground shook violently. His heavy footsteps shook the earth. Meng Tianchi of the Beaming Clan opened his eyes, and his body suddenly enlarged to a height of 100 zhang. He raised the golden battle axe in his hand and strode forward. Terrifying energy poured out from his body, causing the surrounding mountains to shake. Meng Tianqi's aura continued to rise as he glared at Meng Tianqi and roared, "Bastard Taoist, you're courting death. Watch how I chop you with my axe." Crack! The huge battle axe emitted waves of bright golden light. Wherever the axe light passed, the void was cut open. The endless sharpness made people's hearts turn cold. It was as if the whole world was going to be split apart. Bang! The axe was astonishingly powerful. With a sense of infinite power, it chopped down in an instant. However, just like the great dart palm that Heavenly Slave had chopped down before, the strange stone under Shun Gongbao once again burst out billions of green lights, which intertwined into a mass of auspicious clouds that hovered above his head. When the axe chopped down and landed on the auspicious clouds, it was as if it had chopped down on cotton. All the power in the axe was strangely swallowed up by the auspicious cloud. The cloud continued to churn, causing the tip of the axe light to disappear into the auspicious cloud. However, it did not touch Shun Gongbao at all. With that strange rock around, it was as if he was invulnerable. Huff, huff, huff. At the same time, 3 blazing fireballs appeared out of nowhere above Meng Tianqi's head, whistling as they fiercely charged at him. The flames emitted from the fireball forced many experts to take a few steps back. His expression changed slightly. Huh, misfortune? So what if I'm really plagued by bad luck? I'm not afraid of you. Open, open, open. When Meng Tianqi saw this, his body exuded a strong sense of wildness. He roared fiercely, and his body instantly expanded to 10,000 feet. With the axe in his hand, he madly chopped at the 3 fireballs. Streaks of axe light instantly shattered the void and struck the fireballs. Suddenly, the sharp axe light split the fireballs apart. However, violent wind blades immediately descended from the sky, and a miasma filled the sky. Terrible misfortune instantly descended upon him. All kinds of terrible misfortune seemed to follow one after another. It was as if the misfortune would not stop until he was killed. A large number of disasters appeared one after another. The experts who were still wondering if Shun Gongbao was as evil as the legends said. Now, their expressions changed drastically. Meng Tianqi had only chopped once, but it was as if he had poked a hornet's nest. He was immediately plagued by misfortune, and all kinds of disasters descended, covering the sky and earth. One look was enough to send chills down one's spine. What a terrifying power of misfortune. I can't believe that attacking him once can cause so many terrible disasters out of nowhere. When Baihu saw this, she could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. She looked at the scene of disasters descending upon the sky in horror. Shun Gongbao is indeed the legendary god of misfortune. It seems that the rumors of him being born with the physique of misfortune are definitely not false. Di Shirtian stared at Shun Gongbao and frowned inwardly. The elites of the various races are born with powerful misfortune. If I'm not mistaken, the power of misfortune on Shun Gongbao is stronger than their own misfortune. Misfortune has the upper hand, and it will attract a great disaster. He secretly activated his divine eye and used the power of Delusion Breaker to see wisps of black qi coiling around Meng Tianqi's body. Even his forehead began to turn black. Hee, lunatic D, you don't have to be afraid. The black lotus in your body can be said to be the source of all evil. No matter how strong the misfortune is, it will definitely not put you in a situation of certain death. When you cultivate to a high level, the misfortune will not even touch your body, and you will not be invaded by any evil. However, in short, Shun Gongbao's origin is too strange. Ming was also secretly shocked when he saw the scene of misfortune descending. However, he immediately became excited and said, look, Tai Xian will probably not be able to hold back an attack. One is the son of destiny, and the other is the god of misfortune. This is going to be a good show. Let's see which one is stronger when destiny and misfortune collide. Looking at the scene, a strange light seemed to flash in Tai Xian's eyes when he saw Meng Tianqi being bombarded by all kinds of disasters. He gently flipped open the Taishu treasure mirror in his left hand and held the iron pen in his right hand, as if he was going to attack, to stop the misfortune from continuing. The power of destiny, the power of misfortune? Di Tian could not help but feel a strong sense of interest in his heart. These two powers could be said to be strange and terrifying. The power of destiny came from the long river of destiny. As long as one was in this world, it was almost impossible to escape the control of destiny. Even a speck of dust had its own destiny. The power of misfortune could be said to be a kind of evil power in the unseen world. All kinds of disasters would fall from the sky if one was infected by it. It was shapeless and incorporeal and extremely strange. It was like if there was a positive side, there would be a negative side. In this world, if one could obtain great luck and pick up treasures by the roadside, then the opposite side would have misfortune. The key point was that Shengong's power of misfortune did not come from the world, but from his own body of misfortune. He was the source of misfortune. Misfortune versus destiny? Interesting. I can take this opportunity to see what kind of trump card Shengong, the Jinx, has. Di Tian thought to himself, but his eyes did not move from the front. In between his eyebrows, the heavenly punishment divine eye's power was completely activated, and everything in this world was clearly seen in his heart. Under the protection of destiny, misfortune will fade. Taishian stood calmly in the air, and his hand finally moved. He held the pen and quickly wrote a sentence in the Taishu treasure mirror. Immediately, the moment he finished writing, this line of words strangely disappeared. At the same time, between heaven and earth, a mysterious power suddenly fell on Meng Tianqi's body. And under the observation of Di Tian's heavenly punishment divine eye, he saw that the black gas around Meng Tianqi's body strangely and quickly dissipated like snowflakes in summer. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared. Unknowingly, there seemed to be two kinds of power violently colliding. At the same time, the various calamities that had been whistling towards Meng Tianqi disappeared mysteriously, just like they had appeared. You are the child of destiny, Taishian. Shengong Bao, no, Shengong Hu. In fact, there was no difference between Shengong Bao and Shengong Hu. Both of them were him. He raised his eyes and looked at the ethereal Taishian. With a touch of surprise, he said with a faint smile, "The power of destiny is unfathomable. It controls the fate of countless living beings. However, your realm is too low. The Tao of destiny already has a master. No one can control it except for the master destiny. You, at most, are just a tool. What you have obtained is just a superficial knowledge." His expression was still unfathomable, and he looked like an expert. "Senior Shengong, you have been famous since ancient times. Why do you have to make things difficult for us juniors now?" Taishian was not angry. He just said calmly, "No need to say more. If you want to pass through this path, each of you has to pay for the passage. I will naturally give it to you with both hands." Shengong was not moved. He sat upright on the strange rock and looked as if nothing could affect him. "No matter what you say, I will still rob you. In that case, please forgive Taishian's rudeness." Taishian's eyes shone with a strange light. Knowing that it was useless to persuade him, he did not waste any more words. He stood in the air, and the ethereal temperament on his body became more obvious. It was as if he did not exist at all. His hand quickly wrote on the treasure mirror. As he wrote, he said, "Edict, the power of space, turn into a cage. Thousands of blades, cut the vacuum. Shatter everything." Boom, boom, boom. As soon as his voice fell, the void around Shangong twisted strangely. Suddenly, it condensed into many strange iron pillars. They connected together and turned into a cage. Shengong's body and the strange rock were trapped in the cage. The power of space permeated and turned the cage into an independent space. It confined the void. In the cage, many crescent-shaped space blades appeared out of thin air. Moreover, there seemed to be traces of fate in these blades. They flew all over the sky and slashed toward Shengong. Bang, bang, bang. However, these blades did not touch Shingon at all. The strange rock under him emitted a strange power again. The auspicious clouds blocked them. Even the space blades could not cut them open. Under fate, no matter how strong the power is, it is illusory and belongs to nothingness. Edict, the power of the strange rock is illusory. In the void, an invisible power of fate suddenly descended and fell on the auspicious clouds. The auspicious clouds rolled violently, as if they were resisting the invisible power of fate. Puff! However, Tai Xian did not hesitate. He opened his mouth and spat a mouthful of essence blood on the Taishu treasure mirror. Immediately, the mirror shone brightly. The invisible power of fate surged violently like a tide and broke the defense of the strange rock. The auspicious clouds were destroyed. Ha! Interesting. Shingon saw it and smiled faintly. 5 Qis circled in his chest. A green auspicious cloud appeared above his head. On the cloud, 3 lotuses rose. To be continued. If you want to know what happens next, please go to www.qijian.com and read more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 658. After resting for such a long time, it's time to erupt. Hee, let's see how it will erupt in 2 days. Those with tickets, please give me a boost. The lotuses floated in the auspicious cloud, emitting a strange light. One of them was pure black, one of them was eerie green, and the third one was gray like the primal chaos. Furthermore, the 3 lotuses were still budding at this moment. Inside, there were various kinds of unpredictable forces circulating and brewing, causing people to feel a chill in their hearts just by looking at it. Boom, boom. The 3 lotuses swayed gently, emitting a strange light that intertwined and covered the whole body. The spatial blades that blotted out the sky were directly blocked by the 3 lotus flowers. It was as if they had struck the softest thing in the world, unable to descend any further. The gray lotus suddenly shone brightly, and a destructive, berserk energy gushed out. Millions of light rays burst out, instantly annihilating the surrounding blades and even the spatial cage. It was as if there were endless disasters inside. The black lotus swayed, and wisps of invisible black gas escaped into the void, wrapping around Tai Xian. In the black gas, there was the aura of misfortune. There were countless bad auras hidden in it. The green lotus swayed, and a strange light protected it. It was as if it had become the source of all evil. The gods were destroyed. Impossible. This is impossible. How could Shingon cultivate such power? Body of misfortune, body of all evil, and body of disaster. He actually gathered these 3 powers in his body alone. Could it be that he cultivated the mysterious cultivation method passed down from ancient times? The evil emperor's undying body? Gathering misfortune, evil, and disaster in one. Body of all evil, body of all evil, body of all evil, body of misfortune, disaster. Undying and indestructible. When Ming saw the 3 lotuses, his eyes almost popped out, and he exclaimed in disbelief. Regardless of whether it was the body of misfortune, body of all evil, or body of disaster, they were all terrifying constitutions that were hard to come by. They were the most evil powers in the world, and those who could master one would be able to do whatever they wanted in the universe. No one would dare to provoke them, because once they did, they would be the unlucky ones. No one would look for trouble. It was said that before the ancient times, there was the desolate era. Before the desolate era, there were experts who guessed that there was also the immemorial era. It was just that whether or not the immemorial era existed had already become a kind of history that was difficult to investigate. It was also rumored that the chief sovereign of fate, the chief sovereign of space, and the fiend lord, these 3 eternal, indestructible, exalted figures had all been born from the primordial era. Whether it was true or not, if he didn't ask the 3 of them personally, no one would know. However, there were still many mysterious techniques that had been passed down in the world and no one knew their origins. Evil Emperor's undying body was one of them. While Nether was pondering, he suddenly thought of something and said in surprise, "I remember that Shun Gong was killed once in the ancient times." Later on, he reincarnated once. Now it seems like this is his third reincarnation. Moreover, back then, there were almighty existences who confirmed that his physique was the legendary physique of misfortune. Could it be that the constitution he obtained in his second reincarnation was not the body of misfortune, but the body of 10,000 evils, or the body of disaster? Every time he reincarnated, he retained his origin. Until now, he has gathered the power of misfortune, disaster, and even the power of 10,000 evils. He has achieved the goal of cultivating the Evil Emperor's undying body. He secretly guessed, Evil Emperor's undying body. After Sakura heard it, his eyes couldn't help but flash with a glimmer of light. Lunatic D, don't underestimate this technique. It's simply evil to the extreme. No one has ever succeeded in cultivating it. It requires the power of misfortune, the power of 10,000 evils, and the power of disaster to merge into one. The power of misfortune is strange and unpredictable, and the power of disaster can easily unleash all kinds of disasters. Its power is terrifying, and it can almost destroy the world. It was no wonder that Shan Gongming had come all the way here. He most likely wanted to absorb the boundless calamity energy in the fringe to strengthen himself. Once he succeeds, he can immediately break the shackles of heaven and earth and become an unparalleled expert. At that time, with his evil power, even unparalleled experts will not dare to provoke him. Anyone who provokes him will be entangled by misfortune until they die. When Ming thought of the scene when Shun Gong succeeds in cultivating the technique, he couldn't help but click his tongue. At that time, it would be too terrifying. Looks like Tai Xian's power of destiny might not be able to do anything to Shin Gong. Di Shirtian said, Shin Gong's power was completely cultivated by himself. He was the source of power, misfortune, and disaster. If he wanted misfortune, there would be misfortune. If he wanted disaster, there would be disaster. As for Tai Xian, although he cultivated the power of destiny, he might not be able to control it as he wished. When comparing the two, the difference between the stronger and the weaker would be obvious. Sure enough, after Tai Xian attacked Shin Gong, the power of misfortune quickly wrapped around Shin Gong. Once one was entangled by misfortune, no matter how strong one was, bad luck would continue to befall them. Even drinking cold water would get stuck between one's teeth. At this moment, the eyes of all the experts were gathered on the scene. There was no lack of curiosity in their eyes. Everyone wanted to see if Shan Gong's misfortune was stronger or if destiny was supreme. I'm the son of destiny. Destiny will protect me. Destiny will protect me from all evils. Tai Xian's face was solemn. He seemed to be able to see the power of misfortune invading him. Without hesitation, he said softly, Suddenly, the power of destiny descended and surrounded him, forming an illusory river to protect him. At the same time, he quickly wrote on the mirror, Under destiny, you will fall under the stars. Condense the power of the stars into arrows. 10,000 arrows will pierce the heart. Boom, boom, boom. In the ancient star space, the power of stars quickly gathered under the power of destiny and condensed into dazzling arrows. They broke through the void and suddenly appeared in the sky above the chaotic land. They pierced through the void at lightning speed and shot towards Shun Gong's heart. Body of all evils, gods will be destroyed. Shun Gong smiled faintly. The thousands of arrows that were originally shooting towards him were inexplicably deflected to the sides under a strange power. They brushed past his body and pierced through the air, but did not injure him at all. It was truly strange. He extended his left hand and flicked his finger at Tai Xian. Suddenly, a pitch-black lotus petal shot out and strangely broke through a gap in the river of destiny and silently merged into Tai Xian's body. In the blink of an eye, a layer of faint black chi that other experts couldn't see appeared on Tai Xian's face. Huh! Shin Gong looked at Tai Xian with an unfathomable expression and smiled faintly. Your power of destiny is just borrowed. The power of destiny isn't something you can control. However, the power of destiny is most compatible with your body of destiny. If I'm not wrong, you should be cultivating the heavenly book of destiny left behind by the master of destiny. When you master the power of destiny, you might have a chance to win against me. However, if you want to cross the line of life and death today, you have to follow my rules. Shun Gong pointed at the stone tablet in front of him. He smiled faintly and didn't say anything else. The expressions of many young elites changed in an instant. They looked at Shun Gong with anger in their eyes. Even their faces were green with anger and their bodies trembled. However, after witnessing the scene before them, no matter how proud they were, they could only swallow their anger. Humph! Shun Gong, do you really want to be enemies with the 10 great immortal sects? Ao Chen's face looked like he had eaten shit. He scolded angrily. If you really anger us, we'll invite the 10 great divine artifacts. No matter how evil you are, we'll destroy you on the spot. His eyes looked like they were about to spit fire. Brother Ao, don't be angry for now. Tai Xian's eyes flashed with a strange light. He took a deep breath and looked at Shun Gong with a very different gaze. Senior Shun Gong is indeed brilliant. How much does Senior intend to charge for the passage? Not much. You just need to leave behind one of your heavenly treasures, spiritual essences, Dharma treasures, or cultivation methods. Shun Gong said indifferently. However, ordinary items were definitely not in his eyes. Senior brother Tai Xian. When Meng Yao heard this, she couldn't help but look at Tai Xian. The expression in her eyes was incomparably clear. Haha, since Senior Shun Gong is in such a good mood, then as juniors, it's only right for us to give you some gifts. Tai Xian said with a smile. He casually took out a fist-sized red stone. It was a red dragon stone. He casually threw it to Shun Gong. Shun Gong caught it and nodded, indicating that he could pass. Sure enough, when Tai Xian walked towards One Line Sky, Shun Gong didn't ask him to stay and let him pass easily. The young elites couldn't help but frown secretly, feeling indignant in their hearts. However, thinking of Shun Gong's terrifying power of misfortune, they could only swallow the resentment in their hearts. No one was willing to attract misfortune at this time. Although unwilling, they could only take out some of their precious items as money to buy passage. For a time, Shun Gong put away all kinds of precious items and was beaming with joy. He almost couldn't close his mouth. This Shun Gong is really a F***king talent. Di Shitian's eyes flickered with the light of wisdom. He pondered and said, whether it's the evil emperor's undying body or his strange power of misfortune, they are all unique in this world. They were all unique in the world. Moreover, his true form was actually a Black Panther. If we can subdue him, it'll be enough to greatly increase the strength of our 1,000-demon city. With this god of misfortune holding the fort, even an unparalleled powerhouse will have to consider the weight of our 1,000-demon city. A debt of 3 months can be repaid quickly. You, Shun Gong, snatched 2 of my treasures back then. Now that I don't want the treasures anymore, you can pay it back with your own body. Countless schemes appeared in his mind. He secretly planned how to suppress this god of misfortune in one fell swoop. Lunatic D, you really want to attack him? Ming couldn't help but be shocked. To be continued. If you want to know what happens next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. I support the author, and I support the original readers. Chapter 659. This is not a joke, Ming said hesitantly. Ming was slightly hesitant as she said, now, it's very obvious that this jinx, Shun Gong, cultivates the legendary, undying body of the evil emperor. It's a combination of the terrifying energies of misfortune, evil, and calamity. When used together, his strength is so terrifying that even Tai Xian's power of destiny can't do anything to him. If you don't kill the snake, you'll be bitten by it. After seeing the 3 lotuses on Shun Gong's head, Dark was deeply afraid. He knew that when the 3 lotuses bloomed, he would become a peerless expert. When that time came, Shingon would be a terrifying demon that was not inferior to myriad calamity Ancestor. If he provoked Shingon now, he wouldn't have the confidence to do so. It was not the right time to attack. However, if he could really suppress him and subdue Shingon, the god of misfortune, Myriad Demon City would be as stable as Mount Tai. The pros and cons of this were quite obvious. Sakura's eyes gradually became deep, and from time to time, the light of wisdom flashed through his eyes. Various schemes constantly flashed in his mind, and he said with certainty, Shingongbao has always been very cunning, and his whereabouts are erratic. In normal times, it will be difficult to find him. Now, he is robbing the young talents of various worlds and suppressing them on the spot. I believe that with his determination, he will also be very proud. Plus, with all kinds of treasures, most of his attention will be on them, and his vigilance will be lowered. Once his vigilance drops, it'll be an opportunity. This time, I'm going to ruthlessly trick this old fox, and I'm going to trick him until he can't get up. How can it be so easy to steal my things? If he does, he'll have to pay it back with his whole life. Dishurtian's aura was majestic without being angry. With the majesty of an emperor, the surrounding air couldn't help but be suppressed and almost solidified. This time, not only was he going to attack Shingon, but he was going to trick him until he couldn't get up. Tian, hearing his words, Baihu reached out her jade-like hand and held it tightly. Her eyes were filled with determination as she said, although Tian Xiang's cultivation isn't high now, our Heavenly Fox clan is the best in creating illusions. If we really want to fight, I can turn the area within a radius of 10,000 zhong into a boundless illusory realm. The light in his eyes had already conveyed his thoughts. This was a belief that would support him no matter what decision he made. When Tian saw this, he felt a surge of warmth in his heart. He held her hand and glanced at Shanggong, who was collecting the toll. He sneered and said, "Let's go. We'll return to the Demon City first." After saying that, a light flashed in his hand, and a heaven gate that looked like the Four Directions heaven gate appeared in front of him. However, this heaven gate seemed a little illusory, as if it was a clone of the heaven gate. After the heavenly gate appeared, they took the lead. He walked inside. With a flash of light, their figures mysteriously disappeared. Only the illusory gate of heaven remained hidden in the void. It was impossible to see it with the naked eye. It was as if it did not exist. It was very strange. This was indeed the phantom of the heaven gate that was separated from the Demon City's Four Directions heaven gate. It looked illusory and could hide in the void, making it difficult for outsiders to detect. As long as one entered the phantom, they could use the power of the heaven gate to return to the Demon City instantly. Even if they were thousands of miles apart, they could not block this connection. This was also a magical thing about the Four Directions heaven gate. Shuttling through the heaven gate, Tian and his party instantly appeared in the Lingxiao Palace. With a wave of his hand, he said loudly, "Immediately summon Hu, Tian Can, and Huang Quan to come and see me." "Yes, your majesty." Outside, a guard immediately agreed. Immediately after, there was a burst of hurried footsteps. Obviously, he was going to pass on the decree. "Brother-in-law, how do you plan to deal with that stinky Taoist?" Zhur blinked her eyes and began to ask curiously. Tian smiled mysteriously and said, "You will know this in the future. Well, since you have returned to the Demon City, you should go to the Jade Pool to see your sister. Your sister is pregnant now. She needs someone to accompany her. Go quickly." As he said that, he said to Baihu, "Tian Xiang, you should go too. After spending more time together, I believe that you two will become good sisters," he said with a deep meaning. Baihu's eyes lit up and she nodded. She knew that Tian was about to set up a trap to deal with Shingon, so she agreed obediently. For a time, only Tian existed in the hall. "Greetings, your majesty." Not long after, Hu, Tian Can, and Huang Quan had all arrived at the Lingxiao Palace. Seeing Sakura, who was sitting on the throne, the awe-inspiring aura that was naturally emitted from the main hall made them all pay their respects. Tian nodded and said, "All of you rise." Who? How is the construction of the heavenly prison? Everything has already been arranged. Whose expression froze. After pondering seriously for a moment, he said cautiously, Your Majesty, the heavenly prison has been completed. There are a total of 9 levels, all of which are made of divine crystals. There are various restrictions and a large number of formations. With the power of the stellar demon sealing tablet to suppress the heavenly prison, the Blood Massacre General will guard the heavenly prison. As long as one enters the heavenly prison, even an ancient powerhouse will be suppressed in the heavenly prison, unable to cause trouble. The heavenly prison was really built like an iron bucket, incomparably sturdy. There were also restrictions inside that specifically suppressed one's cultivation base and strength. With the stellar demon sealing tablet suppression, even an ancient powerhouse would find it difficult to escape. This is not enough. When Sakura heard this, light flickered in his eyes, and he muttered to himself irresolutely, Celestial Silkworm, Huang Quan, immediately think of a way to refine a few magic treasures that can guide the power of the seals on the 4 directions heavenly gates into the prison. Even if you can't completely seal the cultivation base of the prisoners in the heavenly prison, you have to seal most of them for me. Can you do it? He looked at the 2 elders. Immediately, the 2 elders felt a strong pressure appear around them. They were even more respectful. After pondering for a moment, he said, It's not difficult to guide the sealing power into the heavenly prison. However, in this way, it's impossible to completely seal the powerhouses in the heavenly prison. It can only suppress them. Even a venerable one can weaken their cultivation base by 20 to 30%. That's enough. Di Shirtian nodded. The best way to seal them was to find a few more sealing stones and inlay them in the heavenly prison. However, this was the only way to suppress them for now. Being able to reduce the power by 20 to 30% had already reached his expectations. In addition, you have to lead all the formation masters in the city to engrave all kinds of formations and restrictions in the heavenly prison. Make as strong as you can. You must do your best to make the heavenly prison unbreakable, indestructible. Yes, although they did not know what was going on, they still agreed without hesitation. There were some things that did not need to be asked. His Majesty's orders, they just had to do it with their hearts. He waved his hand and dismissed them. Di Shirtian looked into the sky and said with a cold smile, Shun Gongbao, I have prepared the best prison for you. I'm sure you'll like it. Don't let me down. After he finished speaking, a strange light appeared on the gate of heaven. Illusions of the gate of heaven kept appearing from the gate of heaven. These illusions were all projections of the gate of heaven. They had the ability to teleport people to the gate of heaven. Once they entered the gate of heaven, they would immediately appear at the designated location. All gates of heaven lock onto the 9th level of the heavenly prison. Di Shirtian immediately marked the gates of heaven. He set the destination of the gates of heaven to the heavenly prison. Crazy Emperor, are you trying to? Seeing this, Ming couldn't help but be dumbfounded. He cried out in disbelief, You want to send that guy Shangong directly to the heavenly prison? Almost instantly, he had seen through the ultimate goal of Sakura's actions. He wanted to send Shun Gongbao to the heavenly prison in one fell swoop. When he thought of this possibility, even he could not help but feel like he was dreaming. This is crazy. He wants to send Shun Gongbao to the heavenly prison. From the looks of it, he still wants Shun Gongbao to run to the heavenly prison himself. If I don't give him a hard time this time, how can I appease my anger from him snatching my treasure back then? Even if he's as cunning as a fox, I'll make him drink the water I used to wash my feet. Di Shirtian did not hold back. At the same time, he quickly controlled the gates of heaven to create gates of heaven projections. These projections could be illusory or real. If they were illusory, even venerables would not be able to see them. They were like empty air, without the slightest fluctuation or aura. It was like a vacuum. If they were placed together, they would not attract any attention. This time, he created a total of 3,000 gates of heaven projections. Let's see how I will kill you this time. Di Shirtian put away the 3,000 gates of heaven. His figure swayed, and he directly left Demon City. Following the gates of heaven that he had left behind, he instantly appeared near the life and death line. He took out the wine god's gourd and poured a mouthful of illusory spirit concealment wine into his mouth. His entire body turned into nothingness on the spot. Concealment into the void was countless times stronger than invisibility. He retracted his aura and did not leak out the slightest bit. He looked in front of the heavenly prison. He saw that fellow, Shun Gongbao, sitting on a strange rock with a bright smile on his face. He collected the toll one by one, openly robbing people. The person he collected was full of smiles, so bright that a few chrysanthemums were about to appear on his face. He made a lot of money. When the All Heavens powerhouses saw this, their faces and noses were about to become crooked from anger. However, when they thought of Shun Gongbao's terrible misfortune, they could only pinch their noses and hand over the toll before leaving with a face full of bad luck. However, every one of them looked at him as if they wanted to eat him alive. Clearly, this enmity had been completely formed. Thinking about how each of these elites was like a genius. If it were not for the myriad tribulations cave abode, none of them would be willing to be robbed and would fight with Shun Gongbao on the spot. If they fought to the death, everyone would have a few sharp trump cards in their hands. They might not really be afraid of Shun Gongbao. Today, I will trick you and send you to prison. Di Shirtian sneered inwardly as the 3,000 gates of heaven appeared in his hand. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chijian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 660. The illusory spirit vanishing wine could allow one to vanish into the void, turning one's entire body and even one's spirit into nothingness in an instant. In this state, it was more thorough than invisibility. Even if a destructive attack passed through one's body, it would still be unable to harm one's body, unless the entire void was completely annihilated. Under such circumstances, one would not be able to detect his presence at all if one did not have a miraculous eye technique. Moreover, this concealment of one's aura would make one's body even more nothingness than nothingness. Holding the 3,000 heavenly gates projections in his hand, Di Shirtian shuttled through the void and approached Shun Gongbao. Carefully, he tried his best to take care of all the places that could be exposed and deliberately avoided the experts of the various heavens. He even held his breath completely. Shun Gongbao, who was grinning from ear to ear with both hands cramping, suddenly had a strange feeling in his mind, as if he had a bad premonition. He could not help but pause for a moment, and quickly released his divine thought to scan the surroundings inch by inch. Moreover, it directly passed through Di Shirtian's body of nothingness. But strangely, he did not detect any abnormalities. He could not help but think to himself, just now, I felt a little uneasy, as if something bad was going to happen. Why can't I find it? Could it be that someone is hostile to me and wants to scheme against me? Thinking of this, he immediately laughed strangely. Hee. This time, I have achieved a small success in the evil emperor's immortal body. With the protection of all evils, misfortune will naturally find you if anyone has any bad thoughts about me. Disaster will come out of nowhere. I am not afraid of you being hostile to me. He had even robbed the various heavens and realms. These were all young elites, the successors of various major forces. Robbing them was equivalent to offending countless forces in the various heavens and realms. It was normal to be envied and hated, so he did not take it to heart. When there were too many debts, there was no need to worry. When there were too many lice, there would be no itch. These thoughts were put aside in the blink of an eye. He did not believe that after he had gathered the body of all evils, the body of misfortune, and the body of disaster, there would be anyone who would attack him. To put it bluntly, he could do whatever he wanted now. He laughed strangely to himself. He continued to collect tolls and looked at the sorrowful and indignant faces with interest. I wonder if Lan Yu and Qing Yuan have found any treasures in the Myriad Tribulations cavern. I'm not sure if they've found any treasures in the cavern. I hope we can seize the opportunity. Di Shutian also felt Shengong's divine sense, but after seeing that Shengong's divine sense passed through his body without any reaction, he couldn't help but sneer. Without hesitation, he erected the heavenly gates projection in his hand and merged it into the void. Front, back, left, right, east, west, north, and south. Between heaven and earth, Di Shutian continued to release illusory projections of the gate of heaven. Each projection blended in with the void. If they were not revealed, one would not be able to detect them at all. The 3,000 gates of heaven enveloped the void around Shengong in an instant. There was not a single gap. Moreover, without activating the gates of heaven projection, the transmission power of the gates of heaven would not be activated. Therefore, like the void, it did not attract the attention of the other experts. All of a sudden, when all the gates of heaven were placed, suddenly, the surrounding void seemed to have turned into a strange cage of nothingness. The gates of heaven filled every inch of the void outside Shengong. Humph! There are gates of heaven all around, without the slightest gap. As long as you move, I will activate the gates of heaven teleportation and immediately send you to the prison. Seeing that you are as cunning as a ghost, this time you will also have to drink Ai's foot washing water. Di Shutian finished all the arrangements. When he came to the void, he looked down at the smug Shengong Bao and sneered to himself, "Back then, the three of you followed behind me and took advantage of me. This anger has not subsided until now. If I don't ruthlessly set you up, how can I swallow this anger? This time, I will first suppress you in the prison and properly temper your spirit. Let's see how cunning you are." After making the arrangements, everything was in order. In the demon city, in the prison, the magic weapon to receive the sealing power had been refined. In the prison, there was an invisible sealing power to suppress the felons. At the door, one on the left and one on the right, two blood-killing generals guarded the door with murderous intent. They exuded a fierce, killing intent. The entire prison was built like an iron bucket. They were only waiting for Shengong to deliver himself to them. Shameless Taoist. Jinx, he's a F** King Jinx. This time, if we were not in a hurry to rush to the Myriad Calamity Cave abode, we would have beaten him up no matter what. In the future, we will report to the elders in the clan and destroy this shameless Taoist. In front of the line between life and death, none of the young elites was willing to do it. All of them were secretly cursing in their hearts. But thinking about the Myriad Calamity Cave abode, if they saw others go there, they would be blocked here. Maybe they would lose a great opportunity. Even if they were unwilling, they had to grit their teeth and pay the money. In their hearts, even their noses were crooked. They had completely offended these young elites. They were afraid that if they had the opportunity in the future, they would definitely not mind doing something to Shengong. In this way, a few hours passed. A large number of experts had all passed the line between life and death. For a time, only Shengong Bao was left in the originally lively place. In the blink of an eye, it became abnormally cold and cheerless. Shengong waved his long sleeves and said proudly, "Well, this time, not only did I block these little guys for a few hours, I also obtained a large amount of wealth. This robbery was worth it. However, Lan Yu and Qing Yuan have been in there for so long. Nothing will happen to them in the Myriad Calamity Cave abode, right? I'd better hurry over and take a look." When Shengong, Lan Yu, and Qing Yuan were in the heaven realm, they were known as the three evils of the heaven realm. They had always been together, and their friendship was not ordinary. Thinking about it, he felt a little worried. He put away his things and was about to leave. However, before that, Shengong Bao did not immediately take action. Instead, his two eyes quickly scanned the surroundings. His spiritual sense penetrated the void and swept through every inch of space, exploring everything around him clearly. After not discovering any dangers or traps, he could not help but secretly nod his head. Then, with a flash of his body, the strange rock under him strangely turned into a simple leaf. On the surface of the leaf, even the natural patterns could be clearly seen. It fell into his hand and turned into a pendant hanging around his neck. In the leaf, a strange power emerged and covered his body. He took a step forward. Divine ability, shrinking earth into an inch. Heavenly gate projection, open for eye. Just as Shingon was about to move, a formless voice suddenly spread through the void. What? Who is scheming against me? When Shingon heard that voice, his expression changed greatly. He instantly guessed that someone was scheming against him. Moreover, in front of him, 3,000 heavenly gates suddenly appeared, densely distributed in every inch of space. His body, unknowingly, had already rushed into one of the heavenly gates. His entire body was shuttling forward. Moreover, this was the divine ability he used to escape forward. How could he have thought that he would encounter such a situation? His face immediately darkened, and he could not help but roar. He only had time to take a look at the void in the blink of an eye, and just happened to see Sakura, who had already revealed himself in the void. Swoosh! The teleportation of the heavenly gates was as fast as lightning. As soon as he touched it, the teleportation began immediately. There was no time for him to react. For a moment, only Shingon's indignant eyes remained in the air. Huh? Even with Sakura's tenacious nature, when he saw Shingon bumping into the heavenly gate and being teleported out, he couldn't help but laugh out loud and said with a smile, "No matter how shameless or cunning you are, in the end, you were still tricked by this emperor. This time, you should obediently stay in the prison and slowly count the treasures that you robbed." Ha ha! Ming was lying on the ground in the nether prison, hammering the ground with one of his dragon claws. As he hammered, he laughed so hard that tears were about to fall out his eyes. This is so funny. This shameless jinx. I can't believe he's going to be thrown into the celestial prison. This is so interesting. I can't even imagine what his expression will be when he finds out that he's been sent to the celestial prison. Quick, quick, quick. Let's go back to the demon city and take a look. Shingon must want to break out of the prison. With the General of Blood Massacre guarding the prison, he can't escape even if he has the ability to reach the heavens. Tion sneered. The General of Blood Massacre was a killing weapon born from killing. It was refined into a terracotta soldier with a special method. It had become an incredible life form. Even Shingon's power of misfortune might not be able to do anything to the General of Blood Massacre, who only knew how to kill. He turned and returned to the demon city from the heavenly gates. He came to the front of the prison. In front of the prison, there were two ferocious beast statues standing in front of the door. They bared their fangs and revealed a murderous aura. It made people feel terrified even before they entered. At this moment in the gloomy and terrifying heavenly prison, a mournful cry rushed out of the heavenly prison and enveloped the entire demon city. Sakura, you bastard, so was you who schemed against me and even sent me into this ghost prison. You even let me barge in myself. You're too despicable, too shameless. I hate you. Shingon looked at the hard walls around him. Above his head, a huge sealing force was exerted on his body. Countless restrictions flickered with light. The surroundings were gloomy and bone-chilling cold. The prison door was made of precious materials. Everything told him that he had been tricked. Moreover, he had been tricked into this ghost celestial prison. The most terrifying thing was that in front of his prison, there was a tall General of Blood Massacre guarding the surroundings coldly. He looked at him coldly. Power of misfortune. When Shingon saw this, he gritted his teeth and waved his hand to use the power of misfortune. Suddenly, a large amount of black gas wrapped around the General of Blood Massacre. To be continued. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 661. How dare you? When the power of misfortune was about to wrap around him, The general of the bloody massacre opened his two bloody eyes and spat out a cold shout. The bloody light around him instantly exploded, and the fierce, murderous aura almost penetrated the sun and the moon. He stared coldly at Shen Gongbao, and an aura of death shrouded the entire prison. However, the power of misfortune was still wrapped around the general of the bloody massacre. But the strange thing was that after the power of misfortune was wrapped around him, it was drowned by a strange, boundless, murderous aura. It had no effect on the general of the bloody massacre, as if he was not affected by the curse of misfortune at all. Boom, boom, boom. On the contrary, the vast pressure caused circles of bloody ripples to appear in the space around Shen Gongbao, constantly squeezing him. The fierce, murderous aura was about to destroy his divine soul in an instant and completely crush it. The general of the bloody massacre, each of them had more terrifying strength than the ancient giants, and they were killing weapons bred in slaughter. They were almost terrifying to the extreme. Shen Gongbao's face instantly became quite ugly. He shouted, "Doomsday Storm!" With a wave of his long sleeve, a dark storm suddenly appeared in front of him. In the storm, there was a destructive aura of doomsday, brewing the power to bring doomsday to heaven and earth. It began to rotate violently, and as it swung, it hit the prison door. "How dare you!" The general of the bloody massacre's cold eyes narrowed, and his murderous aura burst out. The bloody spear in his hand suddenly pierced toward the dark storm of doomsday. Bang! The bloody spear blasted into the storm of doomsday, and the violent, murderous aura instantly erupted. Countless bloody rays burst out from the spear, and each ray contained the most domineering and the sharpest murderous aura, exploding in one fell swoop. It turned into a blood-colored vortex, and with a single spear strike, it dispersed the terrifying doomsday storm. Clang! The bloody spear tip went straight to Shen Gongbao's throat, and the fierce, murderous aura directly pierced into his body like a needle. The general of the bloody massacre glanced at his face and said coldly, "His Majesty has ordered that those who dare to break out of prison will be killed without mercy." The cold, murderous aura carried the aura of death. It suddenly enveloped Shen Gongbao, General Blood Killer, comparable to an ancient giant. Shen Gong's pupils contracted violently. He looked at the bloody massacre general with a deep fear. He had a premonition that if he really wanted to break out of prison, the blood-colored spear would definitely pierce his body immediately, shredding himself into countless pieces. Around him, there was also a vast sealing force suppressing him. He could not even bring out 80% of his strength. Shen Gongbao, when you tricked I into giving you 2 treasures, you should have known that you would end up like this. Those who scheme against others will always be under the influence of darkness. For you, I won't hesitate even if I have to resort to despicable means. Di Shitian stood outside the prison and did not come in, but he could clearly see Shen Gongbao's old face, which was as black as the bottom of a pot. He sneered and said, "I advise you to stay in the prison obediently. Because of you, I have specially brought in the sealing force and set up countless inhibition and a large number of formations. There are 2 bloody massacre general outside the prison, and there is one in front of your cell. No matter how powerful you are, you can't escape. Di Shitian, this time I admit defeat. Tell me, what do you want?" Shen Gongbao was a smart man. Although he had an impulse to bang his head against the wall at the thought of entering the ghost celestial prison by himself, he was not stupid. He gritted his teeth and said, "As long as you are willing to let me out, I can give you a 50-50 share of the toll I received this time." "Not enough." Di Shitian flatly refused. 60%, 70%. Shen Gongbao's eyes showed a look of suffering and pain. He gritted his teeth and said hatefully. Di Shitian did not answer. His goal was not this little bit of wealth. With the shocking wealth in the imperial treasury, this little bit of wealth was just a drop in the ocean. He interrupted domineeringly, "I won't take the treasures you robbed. As for the 2 treasures you snatched from me, I can also forget about it." "Then what do you want?" Shen Gongbao's expression changed. He thought to himself, He doesn't want the treasures, and he doesn't want the two treasures from back then. It seems like what he wants is more important. It's very simple. Submit to I, Tian said indifferently, but he did not expect him to answer immediately. He said directly, "You don't have to answer immediately. I can give you time to consider. You can also try to break out of the prison as long as you are not afraid of death." After that, Tian left the prison without hesitation. Subdue Shingongbao. He never thought that he would succeed from the start. Relying on the aura of a king was nonsense. How could a person like Shingongbao be subdued so easily? Ordinary methods might not work on him. What's more, Sakura didn't want to meet him now. No matter what, he would first lock him up for a while. As long as he was in the prison, he was not afraid that he could escape. Dark, did Shingongbao have any close relatives or friends in the ancient times? I want to know everything about him. Tian left the prison and asked Dark in his mind. In order to subdue a talent, one must first understand every bit of the other party's information, personality, hobbies, family and friends, and even every little thing. From every little thing, one must analyze the other party's flaws and then target the flaws, such as threats and promises, catering to the other party's interests, and even various other methods could be used. It was easy to do so. Now, he would lock Shingongbao up for a while to wear down his arrogance. Shingongbao, why would I want your money? Even if it is a treasure, I can give it up. You alone are enough to suppress thousands of troops. Compared to you, any wealth is nothing. With your status, only I would dare to use it. Tian took a deep breath and looked into the void. Great, this is great. This time, Shingongbao is probably so angry that his nose is crooked. Ming's eyes were glowing as he shouted, "Lunatic D, Tai Xian, and the elites have probably passed through the life and death line and are about to reach the location of the myriad calamity cave dwelling. Let's go. Let's hurry over. Snatching the innate spiritual embryo is the most important thing. Once we get it, the demon city will not be destroyed by the eternal kingdom in the future. Yes, in the land of chaos, the life and death line. In the midst of all kinds of terrible disasters, the life and death line was the only way out. Although this road was extremely narrow, no disasters appeared. It was as if there was a strange power in the canyon that blocked all the disasters outside, preventing them from invading inside. Tian led Zhu and Bai Hu through the heaven line quickly. Along the way, there were no accidents. They passed through it easily. However, the strange thing was that in the heaven line, it was impossible to fly in the air. They could only move quickly on the ground. It would take a certain amount of time to pass through. It took a full 2 hours to pass through the heaven line. After passing through, the scenery in front of them suddenly changed. In front of them, there were no less than millions of experts. These experts were all standing around and did not move, as if they were watching a spectacular scene. Because Tian and the others had already drunk the illusory spirit concealment wine when they came out, no one noticed their arrival. He opened his eyes and followed the gazes of the experts. Even though Tian was confident in his mental fortitude, he could not help but gasp. His eyes widened as he said in disbelief, "What a huge demonic dragon! How can there be such a huge demonic dragon here? Could it be that this is the myriad tribulations Ancestor's cave abode?" Someone went in first, Ming said in astonishment. Ming spoke with surprise when she saw this. If I'm not wrong, then the myriad tribulation abode is indeed here. However, if the restrictions here aren't activated, then the abode ought to be concealed. Looks like someone has definitely arrived here before us. He scanned the void. In the void, he saw a figure that resembled a divine dragon. It had 9 claws and a pair of huge dragon wings on its back. It looked exactly like the demonic dragon from the demon god continent that he had seen in the monster realm. That said, that demonic dragon's body was so enormous that it had reached an unimaginable state. Judging from how its body was spiraling in the sky, it was over 100,000 feet in size. Its pitch-black body exuded a vast dragon's might that made the air around them feel extremely oppressive. It was a terrifying demonic dragon. However, it was obvious that it had died a long time ago. Otherwise, its might alone would have crushed countless people. Furthermore, that incomparably huge dragon head was strangely opening its mouth. Its mouth was filled with sharp dragon fangs that flickered with rays of sharpness. Its deep throat contained an endless amount of coldness. It was as if it was a bottomless pit. Its fangs sent chills down many people's spines. This demonic dragon was an ancestral demonic dragon that was slain in a great battle in the ancient times. When it was alive, it was so powerful that it destroyed countless worlds. With a roar, even the chaos was about to riot. Even more than 2 peerless powerhouses fell at its hands. In the end, it was killed by 8 peerless powerhouses together. The dragon's soul was destroyed by the great millstone of annihilation. In the end, the demonic dragon's indestructible body fell into the hands of the myriad tribulations ancestor. He even made it his own cave abode. The so-called cave abode is in the demonic dragon's stomach. Nether chuckled strangely. He knew everything about the 1,000 tribulation-old ancestor, as expected of an ancient peerless demon. Deshertion took a deep breath and exclaimed, "This demonic dragon's body alone is enough to deter countless cowards. Without a certain amount of courage, who would dare to walk into the demonic dragon's mouth?" He secretly glanced at the demonic dragon's body and found that every dragon scale on its body was shining with a strange light. It seemed to contain an inexplicable power and was filled with a terrifying and dangerous aura. It was unknown how many restrictions were placed on it. Using a demonic dragon as a cave abode. How domineering. To be continued. If you want to know what happens next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. I support the author, and I support the original readers. Chapter 662. Disregarding everything else, just the body of the demonic dragon alone was an unparalleled treasure. If anyone could get their hands on it, their power would be so strong that even peerless experts would not be able to match it. If one could refine the demonic dragon into a cave mansion and obtain the key to controlling the demonic dragon, it would definitely be a supreme treasure that was not inferior to the 10 supreme artifacts of the 10 great immortal sections. Looking at the countless restriction lights flickering on the dragon scales, the pitch-black dragon horns that seemed to pierce a hole in the heaven and earth, the kind of unparalleled demonic might that had been unparalleled since ancient times. Even if it was dead, it would still suppress all directions. The invisible deterrence directly made all the experts stand in front of the myriad tribulations cave mansion that was made by the demonic dragon, not daring to act rashly. I've long heard that the myriad tribulations ancestor was an unparalleled fierce god in the ancient times. Among the peerless experts, he was one of the top almighties. With a raise of his hand, he could pluck the stars and grab the moon. With a flick of his finger, he could destroy many small worlds. Entering the chaos alone, he could not be devoured by the chaos chi and could freely travel the chaos. Moreover, with the myriad tribulations mysterious technique, he could activate the power of myriad tribulations with a wave of his hand. He could be called an unparalleled fierce demon. I didn't expect that even the cave mansion would be so domineering and awe-inspiring. Sitting in the cave mansion with the demonic dragon's body, I really can't imagine how unparalleled the pride of this person is. If one could find the key to this myriad tribulations cave mansion, they would immediately obtain endless benefits. With this cave mansion in hand, even peerless experts would be able to match up to them. Sure enough, this is the greatest opportunity in the land of chaos, a supreme opportunity. If I could obtain the myriad tribulations ancestor's inheritance and obtain the myriad tribulations mysterious technique, I would be able to dominate the world and have a moment of fame. Legend has it that there are many ancient cultivation techniques in the myriad tribulations cave mansion. Once one obtains it, he would definitely become a peerless genius that would attract the attention of the world. He would be able to dominate the limelight. It is said that the myriad tribulations ancestor once entered the chaos world alone and found a divine item that was nurtured by chaos in the boundless chaos world. It was called the myriad tribulations heavenly pool. The water in the heavenly pool has boundless magical power. Bathing in it once, the impurities in one's body will be refined and purified, allowing one's body to undergo the cleansing of the myriad tribulations heavenly pool. Even a severed arm could be regrown in an instant. The path to becoming an eternal giant will be completely opened. As long as one accumulates magic power, they will be able to cultivate smoothly until they become an eternal giant and become a venerable. Rumor has it that the myriad calamity ancestor once killed an unparalleled demon emperor of the demon god continent, the heartless demon emperor. The true form of the demon emperor was said to be a hollow willow. His body was refined into a supreme treasure called the Myriad Tribulations Devil Suppression Pagoda. The hollow willow could communicate with the primal chaos heaven and earth on its own. It breathed in and out primal chaos, spiritual chi, and condensed countless heavenly essence pills. If I can get my hands on those pills, I'll be able to nurture countless experts. It won't be difficult for me to become an unparalleled expert. For a time, many cultivators who had heard of myriad calamity ancestors' deeds began to discuss the various treasures, wealth, and boundless abilities of myriad calamity ancestor. Everything was clear and logical, and every single one of them made sense. Everyone couldn't help but yearn for it. All these fell into the ears of Di Shirtian, who was hiding in the dark. Su Tianxiang's beautiful eyes flickered with a strange light. She thought to herself, I'm cultivating the Heavenly Fox's 10,000 Wonders technique, a technique passed down in the bloodline of the Heavenly Fox clan. In my clan, there were unparalleled experts who used this technique in ancient times. It's the most suitable technique for me, so there's no need for me to covet the myriad calamity mysterious technique. However, the myriad calamity heavenly pool has the miraculous effect of cleansing one's body and tempering one's body into an immortal. As long as I can cultivate an immortal body, I'll be half an eternal giant. Once my magic power reaches a certain level, I'll naturally be able to become a venerable. At that time, I'll be able to help Shi Tian. Bai Hu was calculating after all. Foxes had always been intelligent, and she also had feelings for Di Shirtian. Seeing that Di Shirtian's enemies were getting stronger and stronger, if she was still so weak, not only would she not be able to help, she would also become a burden. She couldn't help but start thinking about how to improve her strength. Crazy D, the Myriad Calamity Heavenly Pool, and the Myriad Calamity Demon Subduing Pagoda are good things. Once you can bathe in the Myriad Calamity Heavenly Pool once, your treasure body and immortal bones will merge into one, and you'll truly become an immortal body. The Myriad Calamity Demon Subduing Pagoda swallows and spits out chaotic chi to condense heavenly primary elixirs. It's simply endless, enough to support the strength of all the demons in the demon city. Countless capable subordinates have been trained. Dark licked his lips, his eyes gleaming, and shouted, If I can plunder all of them, my strength will immediately increase greatly, and I'll truly turn all of my foundation into strength. Moreover, I know that 5 of the 9 great spiritual pearls in the world were obtained by Myriad Calamity Ancestor. Together with the innate spiritual embryo, this Myriad Calamity Cave is definitely a huge treasure. Thinking of the various benefits inside, its 2 dragon eyes were already shining brightly. Although there are endless treasures inside, Myriad Calamity Ancestor's cave is not so easy to break into. Sakura wasn't bewitched by all those benefits. He cultivated the power of desire, and his control over his own desires was already exceptionally shocking. As long as he had a desire, if he was willing, he could swallow that desire anytime and turn it into his own true power. His eyes flashed, but he didn't immediately move. Instead, he became calmer. Roar! All of a sudden, Just as the cultivators were hesitating over whether they should barge in or not, the massive demonic dragon suddenly opened its eyes and radiated boundless hostility. In an instant, a vast dragon's roar erupted from its mouth. Rings of strange sound waves instantly pulverized all of the disasters that filled the entire chaotic lands into powder. Millions of experts felt as if they were a broken boat in the sea amidst the dragon's roar, as if they were about to be crushed into powder by the domineering power contained in the dragon's roar. Their faces turned pale. Whoosh! However, the demonic dragon only stared coldly at the crowd below. After uttering a dragon's roar, it lowered its head and swallowed without warning. Immediately, terrifying gales swept up in the land of chaos, and boundless devouring power swept through the entire land of chaos, especially those in front of them. Under the terrifying devouring power, like weeds, the millions of all heaven's experts were bound by the mighty power and surged into the demonic dragon's mouth. The devouring power came from the dragon's mouth. Not good. How can the myriad calamity cave move on its own? Did someone trigger some kind of restriction? Or is that old fart myriad calamity not dead? The sudden turn of events caused Ming's expression to change drastically. He couldn't help but shout wildly. That demonic dragon was simply terrifying. Once it awakened, it released a whale's swallowing force that enveloped the entire void. Even if Sakura, White Fox, and the others had already drunk the illusory spirit-vanishing wine, they still couldn't resist being swallowed by the demonic dragon. They felt as if they had been sucked into a terrifying whirlpool, and their entire bodies were spinning violently. Roar! After a dragon's roar, the vast demonic dragon strangely stopped again and returned to its original appearance. It hovered in the air with its two dragon eyes closed and its huge dragon mouth opened, as if it was a passage to the netherworld. The void twisted. Specks of light shone around them. A cold Xian Ming slowly revealed herself. The netherworld ghost lamp on her shoulder emitted light that illuminated the surroundings. Her beautiful eyes quietly watched the demonic dragon. This is the myriad calamity ancestor's cave dwelling. If I didn't have the protection of the netherworld ghost lamp, I'm afraid I would have been swallowed, Xian Ming said with a frown. Another one of the 9 ancient lamps has appeared, and it's the ancient suppression demon lamp. Judging from its escape, it should have gone to find the master of destiny of the demon clan. It seems like the appearance of the other 7 ancient lamps is not far away. She muttered to herself and walked toward the demonic dragon step by step in the void. Then, she entered the demonic dragon's body unhurriedly. I wonder if that old fart myriad calamity is dead or not. In the distance, Demon Monarch and Know-It-All appeared strangely. They looked at the terrifying dragon's body with fear. Myriad Calamity was one of the top experts in the ancient times. To be able to break free from the shackles of heaven and earth, he wouldn't have died so easily. Myriad Calamity's mysterious cultivation technique shocked both ancient and modern times. I saw the strange movement just now. Know-It-All gulped down a few mouthfuls of spirit wine, and his expression was somewhat profound. A centipede dies, but never falls down. Know-It-All and Demon Monarch didn't enter the Myriad Calamity cave dwelling. On the other hand, the sudden eruption of the demonic dragon was almost earth-shattering. The moment he was sucked in, even though Sakura's cultivation wasn't weak, and he even cultivated half of the immortal body, he still felt a little dizzy from the spinning. Outside his body, a force that was binding his body was still entangled, but it suddenly disappeared. After that force dissipated, his whole body, like a weight, fell down quickly. With a thought, the royal true force in his body circulated. His body immediately stopped in midair and stood high in the air. Looking around, his expression changed slightly. You are Tian Xiangjur. Beside him, he was the only one left. Whether it was Yue Zhe or Tian Xiang, they all disappeared. Obviously, they were separated after being swallowed by the demonic dragon. But he didn't know where they were scattered. Lunatic D, don't be alarmed. Being separated may be a good thing. Ming shook her head and said, even though they'll be able to improve greatly under your wings, a little bird that has grown up will have to fly out of its nest in the end and experience the wind and rain. Only in this way will it be able to transform. This may be a great opportunity for them to grow alone. Well, let's see what the hell is this place. After being swallowed alive, it couldn't help but curse in its heart. Tian heard and thought for a while. He temporarily put down the worry in his heart and looked around. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 663. His gaze swept around, and when he clearly saw the world he was in, Tian couldn't help but let out a cry of surprise. His pupils contracted violently in an instant, and in his eyes, rays of light shot out. Copper Mountain, Silver Mountain, Iron Mountain, Gold Mountain, fine iron tree, gold water, grass as tough as steel. The gold iron chi is so dense and sharp. The power of gold. There is no other origin chi other than the power of gold. What is this place? Tian was alarmed. Looking around, it was as if common sense had been turned upside down. There were mountains that exuded the aura of fine iron, flowers and trees that contained the power of Gengjin, and even water that contained the power of Gengjin. The origin chi in the air was all the power of gold of the five elements. Moreover, there was no other origin chi other than the power of gold. This was an independent world filled with the origin of gold. Wisps of wind blew by, and the sharp power contained within the wind actually caused the demonic body to emit a metallic sound as if it was being cut by countless blades. Even the wind was filled with killing intent and sharpness. It wasn't wind, it was sword chi, saber chi, and spear chi, which contained terrifying killing power. Origin of gold. Ming looked around and couldn't help but gasp. He said, F***CK. Wan Jia, that old bastard, did he merge the 5 spiritual pearls of heaven and earth with the source seed of the world and evolve the 5 small worlds? 5 unique domains. Did he evolve the gold spiritual pearl, fire spiritual pearl, water spiritual pearl, wind spiritual pearl, and thunder spiritual pearl into the 5 unique domains? Is this old bastard plotting something? With his vast experience since ancient times, he almost instantly guessed the origin of the world in front of him. It must have merged the 5 spiritual pearls of heaven and earth and used the origin of the spiritual pearls to support the world. Evolving the world. The world in front of him must be the gold spiritual pearl, which evolved the gold spiritual pearl as the origin. In this world, there is only the power of gold. Everything derived from it was formed by the power of gold. Even the plants were made of fine iron. Lunatic D, you have to be careful. This place is filled with the power of metal. It's definitely not an ordinary place. There must be endless killing intent and all kinds of killing moves. I suspect that this is Myriad Calamity Ancestor's backup plan. Perhaps that old fellow hadn't died at all. Or perhaps he had set up a trap in the ancient times to awaken him once more. Otherwise, he wouldn't have used the 5 great spiritual pearls to create the 5 Tao heavens and earth. I'm afraid this is all part of his scheme. Nether knew all too well about those peerless experts who were free from the world and weren't bound by the heavenly Tao. Almost none of those who could reach such heights were fools. Every single one of them had their own stories and secrets. It was extremely difficult to kill him. He was an expert who could survive in the primal chaos alone. Unless it was suppressed and obliterated with a connate spiritual treasure, even if only a little bit of flesh was left, it could be regenerated. Flesh could be regenerated if it was scattered, and primordial spirit could be regenerated if it was scattered. Unless the flesh and primordial spirit were completely crushed into powder. Otherwise, he would be even more stubborn than a cockroach. Coupled with such an existence, anyone would leave a way out for themselves. Leave a way out. Killing a peerless expert was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. One had to know that every time a peerless expert fell, the heavens and realms would be shaken and endless blood rain would fall. This blood rain was called the blood of heaven and earth. The world was crying. This kind of blood of heaven and earth had only appeared in the ancient times. If one hadn't truly died, the blood of heaven and earth wouldn't rain. Treasures, riches, this place is full of treasures. This is 10,000-year-old refined gold, tai divine iron. 10,000-year-old bronze essence, gungjin heavenly water. Everything here is actually the rarest metal attribute material in the world. Heavenly treasures, peerless in the world. If I can get them, how many supreme treasures and pills can I refine? Golden apples. That's the golden apple tree. Legend has it that one can become a connate metal Tao body after eating one. The heavens are on my side. I'm going to become a peerless genius. While Dishur Tian was secretly conversing with Nether, in this world of metal, large groups of cultivators kept falling into this world. This world wasn't small at all. At a glance, it was boundless. Ironwood grew everywhere. In the eyes of the countless cultivators in the multiverse, every stone in this strange world was made of 10,000-year essence of steel, or 10,000-year essence of steel, which were very rare in the outside world. These were excellent materials for refining magical treasures and precious treasures. After chopping down a tree and refining it slightly, it would become a powerful divine weapon. What he saw were all metal elemental materials and natural treasures. There were treasures everywhere. Almost in an instant, many cultivators were dazzled by the golden light in front of them. Endless greed and possessiveness filled their hearts in an instant. It was as if this wasn't a dangerous place, but a mountain of gold and silver full of treasures. A mountain of treasures that could be moved by anyone. And several thousand feet away from Sakura, there was a tall golden apple tree. On the tree, there were golden apples that were radiating bright golden light. They also emitted a peculiar mellow fragrance, which was abnormally alluring. A human cultivator from an unknown world happened to land under the golden apple tree. When he saw the golden apples, his eyes were immediately filled with greed. At the same time, there were 3 powerhouses from other races. Judging from their auras, one was from the wolf race of the beast race, one was from the Azura race, and the last was a beautiful female Rakshasa from the Rakshasa race. After seeing the golden apples, they didn't hesitate and picked the apples as fast as they could. It seemed that they couldn't resist the strange fragrance from the golden apples. After plucking them, they stuffed them into their mouths. Crunch, crunch. In a few mouthfuls, they swallowed the golden apples in their hands. My body, why is it like this? Oh no, there's something wrong with the golden apples. My entire body is turning into metal. My body, my primordial spirit. Almost instantly, after swallowing the golden apples, the 4 powerhouses who were at least immortal lords suddenly emitted a strong metal origin energy. Starting from their feet, their bodies rapidly turned into golden statues at a speed visible to the naked eye. All signs of life disappeared without a trace in an instant. The lifelike statue carried a chilling aura. Hiss! A large group of cultivators who were about to rush over sucked in a cold breath and looked at the golden apple tree in horror. It wasn't a treasure, but a poison. Once eaten, even immortal lords couldn't resist and turned into cold statues. Was there anything more terrifying than this? Spiritual essence turned into poison? Heaven and earth treasures? It depends on whether you're lucky enough to enjoy them. When Ming saw this, he said disdainfully, "Lunatic D, quickly dig up that golden apple tree. TSK, TSK. Each of the golden apples on this tree contains a wisp of metal origin energy. It does have the power to transform a cultivator into a connate metal Tao body. However, the origin energy in it is so domineering that it can't be resisted by ordinary means. It needs to be combined with various spiritual essences to be effective. If you get it, you might even be able to brew connate Tao fruit wine with it. This is a good treasure." Dishur Tian had the wine god's gourd, which was an inferior-grade connate spirit treasure obtained by the wine god. It didn't have any offensive power and was only used to brew wine and store wine. Therefore, he still had connate spirit treasures. In terms of brewing wine, with this gourd, no one would dare to say that they were the best. If he could brew this golden apple into fruit wine and retain its power of origin to make it milder, he might be able to brew a rare spirit wine. Shinon Grotto Heaven Diagram. Tion scanned his surroundings. There were hundreds of all heavens cultivators around, but almost all of them were frightened by the fate of the four powerhouses. Fear appeared on their faces, and they didn't dare to approach the golden apple tree. He didn't hesitate to step into the air and arrive in front of the golden apple tree. A scroll appeared in his hand. He unfurled it and covered the tree in front of him. Light flashed. The entire golden apple tree was sucked into the scroll. Because he knew that he was going to enter the land of chaos, Tion had temporarily borrowed the Shinon Grotto Heaven diagram that he had given to Baisusu. This way, if he encountered any good spiritual essences, he would have the means to extract them. However, Tion's action shocked the hundreds of cultivators nearby. After all, whether it was a spiritual essence or poison, the golden apple tree couldn't be ordinary if it was here. Tion had taken it away. This was like stealing a treasure right in front of their eyes. Pairs of eyes instantly fell on him. The air around him suddenly froze. An incomparably oppressive aura filled every inch of space. In the center of the pressure, Tion stood proudly and scanned the surroundings with his cold eyes. There were hundreds of cultivators, and each of them was at least an immortal lord. They belonged to the cultivators of the myriad worlds and even the various stars. He could feel the hostility emanating from the cultivators. A cold light shot out from his eyes. "You're courting death." Rumble. Just as Tion was about to make a move to show off his power. Suddenly, a loud roar came from all around. The ground shook violently as if there was a terrible earthquake. "Look, what's that?" What a huge golden giant. There are bronze giants and silver giants there too. And there's no sign of life on those people. Killing intent, they're coming for us. There are ferocious beasts here, and they're all made of metal. I can feel that they have a fierce aura. What's more, it's so sharp. The sudden change attracted the attention of the cultivators in front of him. They scanned the surroundings and saw the scene clearly. Their expressions began to change. They all activated their cultivation methods and summoned their weapons or Dharma treasures. Tion took a deep breath. This is indeed not a treasure land. It's a desolate land, a killing field. It can actually breed such ferocious beasts here. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chijian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 665. First update. At a glance, there were ferocious metal beasts constantly coming over after smelling the unfamiliar aura. They were hundreds of feet tall. The cold aura of the bronze giants, the silver giants, and the golden giants made people feel a heavy pressure. There were also all kinds of beasts, huge metal praying mantises, and strange ferocious birds. All of them were staring at Tion and the experts around him. Many cultivators secretly sucked in a breath of cold air and said in horror, "There are actually beasts here. Not good. We can't let them surround us. Once we're surrounded, I'm afraid it'll be difficult for us to escape." Judging from the vigorous chi that giant is emitting, it's at least comparable to an Emperor Realm expert. This place is full of treasures, but it's also full of danger. Sure enough, there's no free lunch in this world. Escape? Where can we escape to? They're just beasts. Let's just kill them. Hundreds of cultivators saw the strange beasts that were constantly encircling them. Some of them were shocked. Some of them were calm. Those who could cultivate to such a realm weren't fools. They realized that in this strange heaven and earth, there were rare treasures everywhere. However, these treasures were accompanied by incomparable danger. A beastman from the bear race was emitting a fierce and wild chi. He glanced at the group of cultivators with disdain and roared, "Watch me slap these beasts to death. What's there to be afraid of, just beasts?" Asterisk bang, bang, bang. Asterisk his body expanded violently. In just a blink of an eye, he had grown to 300 john tall. Thick fur covered his entire body. Traces of barbaric chi were constantly gushing out from his pores. The muscles on his face were trembling. He looked incomparably ferocious. His huge bare paw glowed with divine light as he slapped at a golden praying mantis that was charging at the front. The praying mantis had bronze muscles and iron bones. Every inch of its skin was made of metal. It was unimaginably hard. It brandished its two sharp forelimbs, drawing countless sharp blade lights in front of its body. It emitted endless sharpness. Seeing that someone had actually dared to make a move on it, it immediately flew into a rage. However, the battle prowess of the bear was extremely ferocious. It had reached the heavenly high immortal realm, and it was only a short distance away from reaching the immortal emperor realm. On top of that, the battle prowess of beasts was exceptionally domineering. A bear paw the size of a small mountain slammed down with a domineering ferocity, slamming the mantis into the ground. A huge palm print appeared on the ground. However, the mantis's body was incomparably tough, and its sharp blade cut the bear's paw with traces of blood. This infuriated the bear, and it roared as it slapped down a few times in succession. With a boom, the mantis was smashed into pieces. Look, why did that mantis beast turn into golden light and dissipate after its death? Look over there. What is that? It seems like the mantis left something behind after it died. Scythe, that's a golden scythe. The bear slapped a mantis to death in a ferocious and overbearing manner. However, after slapping the mantis to death, a hideous scar appeared on the bear's paw. The mantis's body was harder than iron, and its waving forelimbs were abnormally sharp. Even if it died, it still caused considerable damage. However, the strangest thing was that after the mantis beast died, its corpse strangely turned into specks of golden light and dissipated into the world. On the spot, a golden scythe about 1 zhang long lay quietly on the ground. The ancient golden patterns on the scythe exuded a strange charm. There's actually a treasure. When the bear saw this, he laughed wildly and reached out to grab the golden scythe. His bell-sized eyes quickly scanned the scythe, and he laughed even more loudly. What a treasure, what a treasure! This is indeed a land of treasures. It can even nurture such a strange treasure. A weapon embryo, a top-grade weapon embryo. A weapon embryo that can be nurtured by itself is simply a top-grade material for refining divine weapons. As long as you add formations and restrictions to it, it will become a top-grade divine weapon. Weapon embryo? Heaven and earth weapon embryo? Almost instantly, all the cultivators looked at the bear with a wolf-like gleam in their eyes. They looked fiercely at the golden scythe. Looking at the scythe, there was not a trace of axed chi on it. It was completely natural, and it naturally revealed a different charm. It was like a piece of unpolished jade. So these beasts are the real treasures. Could it be that their bodies are weapon embryos? Heaven and earth weapon embryos? If we can get one and cultivate it diligently, wouldn't we be able to cultivate a treasure that surpasses the limits of magic treasures? Divine weapon. Looking at the aura of that scythe, I'm afraid it's a dark-grade weapon embryo. That's a weapon embryo that can be refined into a dark-grade divine weapon. For weapon embryo, what are these beasts? All of them can die for this seat. If we can get a weapon embryo, everything will be worth it. Kill, kill, kill. In the blink of an eye, the cultivators, regardless of what race they were from, looked at the numerous beasts surrounding them with green eyes. The magical treasures and weapons in their hands began to shine with dazzling light as they roared and attacked the incoming beasts. Their previous timidity and hesitation were gone. They stared at the beasts as if they were looking at the murderers of their fathers. Weapon embryo? Heaven and earth weapon embryo? When Sakura saw the many ferocious beasts rushing towards him, A strange color flashed in his eyes. Memories of the Zither realm of the Zither family appeared in his mind. There were also strange puppet-like sound servants. Those puppets were good at sound techniques. The weapons in their hands were all kinds of musical instruments. The sound wave attacks they emitted were impossible to guard against. However, after killing these puppets, their bodies would strangely dissipate, leaving behind the musical instruments in their hands. These musical instruments didn't show any signs of being refined. They were a miraculous tool embryo formed naturally by the heavens and earth. If used to refine treasures, they would be excellent materials. There was almost no need to refine them. All they had to do was add formations and restrictions, and they would become excellent magic treasures. He didn't expect to see a similar scene here. TSK. Good stuff, good treasures. With a gold spiritual pearl as the source, the power of gold here is abundant to the extreme. With the help of the 10,000 tribulations, it's not difficult to nurture heaven and earth weapon embryos. These weapon embryos are all good stuff. Any one of them is priceless. The more the better. Dark's eyes were also shining as he looked at the beasts in front of him. These beasts were probably all condensed from the power of the heaven and earth weapon embryos. Heaven and earth weapon embryos were divided into 4 grades: heaven, earth, black, and yellow. For example, yellow grade weapon embryos could be used to refine supreme grade magic treasures. Black grade weapon embryos could be used to refine supreme grade magic treasures. Earth grade weapon embryos could be used to refine acquired spiritual treasures, which were called treasures in the universe. As for heaven grade weapon embryos, they could be used to refine supreme treasures. They were supreme treasures that even peerless experts would scramble for. If it was a magic weapon, its grade would be corresponding. Yellow grade weapon embryos could be used to refine yellow grade magic weapons. Similarly, heaven grade weapon embryos could be used to refine heaven grade supreme magic weapons. Boom! Boom! Just as he was thinking, a heavy pressure hit him in the face. When he looked up, he saw a bronze giant holding a bronze hammer in his hand. He roared as he swung the hammer toward him. Looking at the ancient patterns on the bronze hammer, it exuded a vast pressure. The heavy force carried a sharp edge, as if a huge mountain was pressing down on him. A feeling of insignificance rose in his heart. If he was hit by the hammer, the mountain would be smashed into pieces. The bronze giant's combat strength was comparable to a celestial emperor. Ultimate Emperor Mask, Deshertion shouted as the purple gold mask appeared on his face. The moment he put on the mask, his body was naturally filled with the majesty of an emperor. He slapped his right hand forward. Ultimate Emperor's Seal, Emperor's Seal. I am the Emperor, and I control the universe. Under the heavens, all land belongs to the Emperor. If I want the heavens to collapse, the heavens will collapse. If I want the earth to crack, the earth will crack. Those who obey me will prosper, and those who oppose me will die. I want the heavens to understand my will. The Emperor's will is unstoppable. An ancient seal filled with the domineering power of the Emperor was instantly formed. In the ancient seal, an emperor stood proudly. Under the ancient seal, it was as if everything in the world was revolving around it. It was filled with the supreme will. It suppressed the heavens and the earth in one move. The Emperor's seal grew rapidly, and in an instant, it expanded to the size of 1,000 feet. The seal pressed down on the bronze giant. Rumble! The ancient seal contained the power of the Emperor, and it was extremely domineering. When the seal pressed down on the bronze giant's body, even though the bronze giant's body was extremely tough, it was still annihilated inch by inch under the supreme will of the Emperor. Starting from the head, it was crushed into pieces. The surrounding space was violently distorted from the impact. Bang! A bronze hammer fell to the ground. Simple and unadorned patterns appeared on its surface. TSK, a profound grade weapon embryo. With a little refinement, it will become a profound grade magic weapon. Ming casually grabbed the bronze hammer, glanced at it, and cried out in excitement. That's right. Let's go. Tion glanced around. He was not blinded by the benefits in front of him. With a flash of light, the god of wine gourd appeared in his hand. He casually poured a mouthful of wine into his mouth. His entire body quickly turned into nothingness and disappeared like a phantom. There's something strange about this place. It's definitely not a world that just gives people treasures and weapon embryos. Unlike the other cultivators, he did not charge at the beasts. Instead, he entered the void and hid his body. He did not attack again, but quietly watched the scene below. With his intelligence, he had already sensed that this world was not simple the moment he entered. Myriad Tribulation Ancestor was not a benevolent person. Why would he be so kind as to give them treasures? There must be a deeper meaning behind this. Haha, good sword. If I take this sword embryo out and buy it, even the legendary geniuses will fight for it. I'm going to be rich. These beasts are powerful. Hurry up and run. Ferocious beasts quickly surrounded them from all directions. Each of these beasts' combat strength was not inferior to that of a Duke Immortal. Moreover, there were so many of them that they crushed over in an instant. Many powerful cultivators killed 1 or 2 beasts and obtained the weapon embryo. They were overjoyed, but at the same time, many cultivators died under the beast's attacks. Fresh blood splattered on the ground. To be continued. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chijian.com to read more chapters. Support the author. Support the legal reading. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.